Chapter 35. The hooligans who were hiding in the dark panicked, not expecting Yun Jian to discover them so easily. In spite of it, they stopped hiding and stood out at once. Yun Jian caught a glimpse of Mu Xiang, who stood among the hooligans and was taller than the rest of the men. It was her. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. Humph. Yun Jian, you didn't expect this, did you? How dare you talk to me like that during the day? If I don't teach you a lesson today, my surname isn't Mu. Mu Xiang stood with her arms akimbo, growing more jealous as she stared at Yun Jian's alluring face. Mu Xiang turned around and spoke to a man in his 30s. As she spoke, her entire body was almost pressed against the man's body. Brother Hu, it's her. She was the one who bullied me during the day. Brother Hu, you have to take revenge for your sister Xiang. Hearing Mu Xiang calling herself Sister Xiang, Yun Jian felt goosebumps all over her body. She crossed her arms in front of her chest, curious to see how these people would deal with her. The man who was addressed as Brother Hu hugged Mu Xiang and slapped her butt twice with his fat hand, smirking. As you wish, as you wish. Do whatever you want today. Receiving Brother Hu's promise, Mu Xiang raised her chin arrogantly and peeked at Yun Jian from the corner of her eye. Brother Hu was from Xinjiang town's underground black market. Other places aside, in Xinjiang town, he was a big shot with a lot of influence. He was a member of Longmen City's underground black market, Dragon Head Gang. After hooking up with Brother Hu, Mu Xiang felt that her aura was different from before. Really? Mu Xiang asked coquettishly, playing hard to get. She then looked at Yun Jian differently and said fiercely, then I'm going to ruin her innocence. She's usually so arrogant, seducing the boys in our school every day with that look. Brother Hu, get your brothers to take turns with her. Let's see if she can still be so arrogant in the future. Mu Xiang was even more ruthless than Lin Mengyu. Yun Jian curled her lips coldly. If she was just an ordinary girl today, she would probably have understood Mu Xiang's intentions. Ruining her chastity. If an ordinary junior high school student's chastity was ruined, she would probably live in the shadows for the rest of her life. She would also have to endure the strange gazes of the people around her. Her life would be ruined. Unfortunately, Yun Jian was not an ordinary person. Mu Xiang's wishful thinking was about to fail. He, that's a good idea. Brother Hu chuckled. He pushed Mu Xiang aside and walked towards Yun Jian. Then let me, Brother Hu, go first. Such a good thing, how could he let his group of little brothers go first? Moreover, this girl was much prettier than Mu Xiang. Who knows, she might even be a virgin. Mu Xiang was pushed away mercilessly. She hated Yun Jian even more. But when she thought about how this little b*tch Yun Jian was going to be ruined, she felt an indescribable joy in her heart. Yun Jian's gaze gradually turned cold. She watched coldly as Brother Hu's fat body approached her. Just as she was about to beat the whole group of people to the ground, her sharp senses suddenly detected a trace of abnormality. Tisk, a soft sound traveled into her ears. That sound could not be any softer. If one was not a secret agent, an ordinary person would not be able to hear it. And this was the sound that Yun Jian was most familiar with. It was the sound of a silenced pistol. There were people nearby. Yun Jian suddenly ran towards the dead end of the alley. On the left side of the intersection, she ran in the direction of the sound of the silenced pistol. Her speed was extremely fast. Brother Hu and the rest were just about to surround Yun Jian when they saw Yun Jian running ahead. At that moment, they thought that Yun Jian was running away. She's running away. Chase after her. Mu Xiang shouted as she pointed in the direction that Yun Jian had run. Chapter 36. Yun Jian's running speed was not something that Brother Tiger and the rest could catch up to. In the blink of an eye, she had left Brother Tiger and the rest far behind. Following the direction of the silenced pistol's swoosh, Yun Jian quickly arrived at the other end of the alley. She flashed to the corner of the wall and peeked out with one eye to see the commotion. The first thing she saw was a middle-aged man lying at the entrance of the alley. He was covered in blood and was clearly dead. Yun Jian concluded that the gunshot had killed the middle-aged man. Looking forward, she saw a woman in a flirtatious red robe standing in front of her. The woman was also covered in wounds and looked battered and exhausted, but she was protecting the thing in her arms with all her might. In front of the woman stood 3 men in their 20s. The man in the middle was about 19 or 20 years old, but he was the most outstanding of the 3. This man had a clean and fair face with sharp edges and cold handsomeness. His sharp nose looked as if it had been carved by a knife. Yun Jian could see that the 2 men beside him were centered around him. It was not an exaggeration to use the word handsome to describe this man. It was also Yun Jian's first time seeing a man who could perfectly combine handsomeness and beauty. She could not help but take a few more glances at him. "Enchantress, hand over the thing in your arms or we'll kill you right now." The other man standing beside the handsome man shouted at the woman in the flirtatious red robe after receiving the handsome man's silent approval. Yun Jian suddenly raised her brows when she heard the woman in the flirtatious red robe address her. Enchantress, this name was not unfamiliar to her. Enchantress was the 10th special agent on the special agent ranking. It was said that this person liked wearing flirtatious red robes all year round. She was enchanting and lustful. She did not expect to meet her in a small place like Xinjiang town. Before Yun Jian could think further, the woman with the code name Enchantress laughed out loud. She looked at the 3 men and said in a cruel voice, "Dream on." It wasn't easy for this old lady to obtain this thing, so how could I just give it to you like this? Young master, this damned bitch doesn't know what's good for her. Why don't we kill her and snatch her things? Another man beside the handsome man who looked more irritable licked his lips and asked. Of course, the decision-making power was still in the hands of the handsome man who was called the young master. This handsome man was not as old as the other 2, but his eyes were deep. Even Yun Jian could not tell what he was thinking at this moment. Kill. Pursing his lips, the handsome man spat out a single word. His magnetic voice carried a trace of ruthlessness. Not long after she finished speaking, she suddenly felt a change. The 3 men present, including the ever-vigilant enchantress, all sensed something. They all looked behind the wall where Yun Jian was hiding. Yun Jian's level of concealment was enough to follow these people without being discovered, but the people present all looked at her. It wasn't that her whereabouts had been exposed, but, chase them. Chase them. That shameless little bitch Yun Jian can't have gotten far. Yun Jian's eyes dimmed when she heard Mu Xiang's shrill voice coming from behind her from afar. After hearing that voice, Yun Jian did not plan to continue hiding her whereabouts. She stepped out from behind the wall, but the people present were stunned. When did someone hide here without them noticing? The handsome man narrowed his almond-shaped eyes. His sharp gaze coincidentally met with Yun Jian's. Yun Jian, let's see where you can run to now. Ah. Ah. Die, die, die. You're dead. At this moment, Mu Xiang, Brother Hu, and the rest arrived. Chapter 37. Mu Xiang was so shocked that she fell to the ground. She was trembling all over as she screamed in fear, dead, 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 dead. She was just an ordinary junior high school student. She had never seen a dead person before. Moreover, it was a dead person lying in a pool of blood. It was a gruesome death. At that moment, Mu Xiang completely forgot that she wanted to teach Yun Jian a lesson. All that was left in her was horror and fear. Noisy. The handsome man frowned slightly as he spat out 2 words. His starry eyes glanced at Mu Xiang impatiently and stopped on Yun Jian. He smiled faintly. Was this girl not afraid? Interesting. While the handsome man was sizing her up, Yun Jian was sizing him up as well. However, her gaze lingered more on the enchantress. In her past life, she was the top secret agent, slaying God, while the enchantress was ranked 10th. However, the top 10 secret agents were definitely not ordinary people. This man was able to chase the enchantress all the way here and make the cunning enchantress look so pathetic. It was obvious that he was not a simple character. While the handsome man was sizing up Yun Jian, He raised his hands slowly. A new model of Browning silencer appeared in his fair and slender hand. He was looking at Yunjian, but the muzzle of the gun was pointed at the enchantress. "You'll die if you refuse to give me what you want." A simple sentence came out of the handsome man's mouth. He pursed his lips, and his handsome face exuded an indescribable sense of power. Yunjian narrowed her eyes and stared at the enchantress. However, the enchantress's expression changed when she saw the handsome man pointing the gun at her. The enchantress's face turned pale instantly. She did not know where this handsome man in his late 20s came from. She only knew that he was from the world's most powerful firearms family, the Cold Pavilion. She did not know his exact identity. The Cold Pavilion was a firearms organization. Their firearms and equipment were comparable to the standards of a developed country. They were even more powerful than those secret agent assassin organizations. However, they kept a low profile and did not show off. In fact, the handsome man was indeed from the Cold Pavilion. He was the young master of the Cold Pavilion and the future successor. Her name was C.E. There was a reason why little temptress's face turned pale when she saw C.E. raise her gun. The middle-aged man lying dead in a pool of blood was the sixth most powerful agent in the world, codenamed Spirit Tiger. This person's strength was valiant. He was known for his speed and agility. However, this person had died under C.E.'s gun, and he could not even survive a single shot. Even Spirit Tiger, who was famous for his speed and agility, was not a match for C.E. If it was little temptress, would she still be alive? "Wait. This is for you." Yao Ji gave in. She didn't want to lose her life in order to complete this mission. She bit her lip and threw the item in her arms to C.E. C.E. reached out and caught the item that little temptress had thrown over. His deep eyes were sharp and deep as he looked at the item in his hand. While C.E. was looking down at that thing and had no time to pay attention to her, little temptress covered her wound and quickly left the place. However, Yunjian's pupils constricted. "Sandalwood box." 3 soft words came out of her mouth. The item that little temptress was protecting with all her might was the sandalwood box. Her rebirth was because of the sandalwood box. Her brother's death was also because of the sandalwood box. Chapter 38. Siyi's deep eyes scanned Yunjian again. He did not hear wrongly. She had just said the word sandalwood box. The thing in his hand was indeed a sandalwood box. How could an ordinary girl know that it was a sandalwood box? "Young master, what should we do with these people?" The man standing beside C.E. asked C.E. These people were naturally Yunjian, Mu Xiang, and the rest. "Don't kill me." No. Sob. Mu Xiang was already trembling in fear when she saw C.E. raise his gun. When she heard what C.E. said, she was so frightened that she sat on the ground and crawled back to where they came from. Brother Hu and the rest had already lost their expressions. Their faces were ashen and their bodies were trembling. Yunjian was the only one who stood there quietly, watching the scene without crying or making a fuss. It was as if all of this was nothing more than playing around, as simple as eating a meal. "Let's go." C.E. retracted his gaze from Yunjian and ordered the other 2 men. Then, the 3 tall figures disappeared on the spot. Yunjian did not stop them. The sandalwood box was no longer of any use to her. Her brother was dead and there was no point in looking back on her previous life. On the contrary, she was living a peaceful life now. As for why she was reborn, she did not want to find out. The dead alley returned to its usual silence. Only the middle-aged man's corpse on the ground hinted at what had just happened. However, this corpse would definitely disappear the next day. No matter which organization or family it was, there would always be people who specialized in disposing of corpses to destroy the evidence. Yunjian smiled condescendingly and turned to see Mu Xiang, Brother Hu, and the rest crawling away in fear. She did not stay any longer and walked towards the hospital where Qin Yu was. The inpatient department of the hospital was always a quiet place at night. After staying in Qin Yu's ward for a while, Yun Jian went home to sleep. The next day, Yun Jian woke up early as usual. She still carried more than 10 kilograms and ran around Xinjiang town in the morning to train her body. After that, she went to the hospital to deliver breakfast to Qin Yiru in the morning. Then, she went to school. The moment she entered the classroom, she saw someone she didn't want to see. Yuan Ingjun. Yun Jian went around him, intending to ignore him. However, it was obvious that Yuan Ingjun was here for Yun Jian, so he would not give way. Yuan Ingjun was a student of class 3-1. If he didn't look for her, who else would he look for? Xiao Jian, let's talk. Yuan Ingjun could not help gulping as he watched Yun Jian's increasingly beautiful face. I don't think we're that close yet, so please don't call me Xiao Jian. My surname is Yun Jian, or you can just call me classmate. Yun Jian crossed her arms and chuckled at Yuan Ingjun when she saw that he was blocking the path to prevent her from passing. Yuan Ingjun's cheerful face looked awkward, but he insisted on finishing what he wanted to say. I broke up with Lin Mengyu. What does that have to do with me? Yun Jian continued. I know about what happened that day. It was Lin Mengyu's fault, so I've suppressed it. As Yuan Ingjun spoke, he continued to plead with Yun Jian. It was my fault in the past. I'm sorry, but please give me a chance. Be my girlfriend, okay? So, when Lin Mengyu got into trouble, the reason no teacher or principal came looking for her was because Yuan Ingjun had suppressed it? Chapter 39. In the morning, the self-study session had yet to begin, but there were already plenty of students who had arrived. It was no secret in school that Yuan Ingjun was interested in Yun Jian. Once they heard that Yuan Ingjun had broken up with Lin Mengyu, however, some of the gossipy students in class began bragging. At the same time, the most interesting thing was that Yuan Ingjun wanted Yun Jian to be his girlfriend right after breaking up with Lin Mengyu. Everyone was just curious to see Yun Jian's reaction. Yuan Ingjun was Xinjiang Town Junior High School's school hunk. He was handsome and came from a decent family background. At the very least, there were plenty of girls lining up to be Yuan Ingjun's girlfriend in Xinjiang Town. Thus, everyone thought that Yun Jian would not reject him, would she? Are you done? Just when everyone thought that Yun Jian should agree to be with Yuan Ingjun, Yun Jian spoke as promised, but with a hint of impatience. Even Yuan Ingjun himself thought that what he had said just now was moving. Just as he was confident that he could win Yun Jian's heart, he heard her say something like that. If you're done, move aside. I still have to study, don't disturb me. Yun Jian did not want to be entangled with Yuan Ingjun, so she planned to take a long detour back to her seat after saying that. Xiao Jian, I'm sincere. Yuan Ingjun did not seem to have heard what Yun Jian said just now as he ran up to block Yun Jian, preventing her from going back to her seat. Then, he began to act shamelessly, thinking that he looked cool. Xiao Jian, I really like you. Just agree to be my girlfriend. I'll protect you well and not let anyone bully you. As he said that, Yuan Ingjun thought to himself, why is Yun Jian pretending to be innocent? When he gets her and has his fill, he'll dump her right away when he's impatient. Many of the girls in class 6 who heard Yuan Ingjun's sincere and touching words whispered to each other as they looked at Yun Jian enviously. Wow, Mr. Campus Hunk is indeed the acknowledged idol in school. He's so gentle and handsome. That Yun Jian, why is she pretending? Why doesn't she take a look at herself? The school hunk has already lowered himself for her. What else does she want? Voices of praise for Yuan Ingjun like this kept coming. On the contrary, some of the girls in class 6 who admired Yuan Ingjun hated Yun Jian even more. You won't let me pass? Yun Jian chuckled as she watched Yuan Ingjun block her way. Did he think that he wouldn't be able to return to his seat just because he was blocking his way? Should she agree to his request to be his girlfriend? If it was the previous timid host, she might have really agreed if she was pushed too hard. But she wasn't the host. Xiao Jian, Yuan Ingjun wanted to say more sweet nothings, thinking that unless Yun Jian was made of steel, why would she hesitate in front of someone as outstanding as him? However, he saw what the girl did next. Yun Jian extended her leg and hooked it onto a stool. There was a half-smile on her lips that sent chills down everyone's spine. The scene did not linger for long though. In the next moment, Yun Jian kicked lightly and stepped onto the stool easily. Once she was on the stool, she tapped her foot lightly. What happened next completely shocked everyone. Yun Jian stood on the stool and tapped her foot again. With that tap, she leaped up. At the same time, she was agile. Bending down, she leaped off the stool and somersaulted at least 2 meters above the ground and went over Yuan Ingjun to stand steadily opposite him. The entire process only took 3 seconds. In 3 seconds, she stepped on the stool and somersaulted 2 meters in the air, over Yuan Ingjun, and successfully returned to her seat. Chapter 40. At this moment, Yun Jian was already sitting at her desk. She picked up a language textbook and started reading an ancient poem aloud. It was as if her somersault was just an easy warm-up exercise for her. The students who came to school early in the morning had yet to take out their textbooks for the morning reading. Moreover, the teachers were not patrolling the classroom at this time. Most of the students who woke up early in the morning wanted to slack off. As a result, Yun Jian's light and melodious recitation became a voice that stood out in the classroom. Yuan Ingjun stood in place. His handsome face slowly darkened and his expression turned ugly. He came today because he was confident that he could win over Yun Jian. However, whether it was Yun Jian's somersault or her reading voice now, it all told him that she was ignoring him. Completely ignoring him. People tended to like what they could not have. It was the same for Yuan Ingjun. He clenched his teeth inwardly and swore that he would get Yun Jian one day. However, Yuan Ingjun was too ashamed to stay in class 6. He turned around without a word and ran out of the classroom. It was finally quiet. Yun Jian pursed her lips slightly. She reached out to put away her language textbook and threw it on the desk. Yun Jian actually chased away the school hunk. The students who had arrived early in the class had witnessed the scene and looked at Yun Jian in shock. They believed that the news would spread throughout the school soon. Of course, this was a story for later. Not long after the incident, the bell for the morning self-study period rang. Lu Fian came late today and only rushed into the classroom after the bell rang. Mu Xiang really did not come to school. She probably remembered what happened last night and was too scared to come to school for the time being. In the next few days, Yun Jian did not encounter any troublesome situations and Yuan Ingjun did not come looking for her. Qin Yiru's hand was gradually recovering and was almost fully recovered. Of course, this was because the surgery was done well and the recovery was fast. Qin Yiru was discharged from the hospital on Friday night. When she got home, she tidied up her things and sighed. Ever since her accident, Yun Gang hadn't come home to see her even once. She didn't even know where he had been for the past few days. However, Qin Yiru had already given up on Yun Gang. Xiao Jian, it's Saturday tomorrow. Make a trip to Longmen City on my behalf and send a blanket to your brother. It's almost October. The weather is fluctuating between hot and cold these days. It turns cold when it rains. Your brother didn't bring a thick blanket with him in school. At dinner time, Qin Yiru picked up a piece of meat for Yun Jian, while chewing a mouthful of vegetables, and said to Yun Jian. Yun Jian put the meat back into Qin Yiru's bowl and said to her, "Mom, you can have this meat yourself. It's fat, and I don't like it. I'll go to the city tomorrow. Help brother send the blanket over. Rest well at home. You're not allowed to go to work either. Your injury hasn't healed yet. I'll think of a way to earn money." If she did not say that, Qin Yiru could not bear to eat the meat herself. After all, the market price of pork was very high now. Qin Yiru was indeed planning to go back to work in the factory tomorrow after she was discharged today. After all, the household expenses were high. Where would the money come from if she was idle? Yun Jian had yet to pass the 10,000 yuan to Qin Yiru. She did not tell her either because she was afraid of scaring her. As for Yun Jian saying that she could earn money, Qin Yiru only took it as a joke. Nevertheless, Qin Yiru felt warmth from her daughter's words. Chapter 41. It was Saturday the next day. Yun Jian woke up early as usual and went home to wash up after running one round in Xinjiang town. It was around 8 in the morning when she took the blanket that Qin Yiru had packed into a woven bag last night and boarded the bus to Longmen City. The bus took an hour and a half to reach Longmen City. Yun Jian got off the bus and took the number 31 bus that went straight to DE Senior High School. DE Senior High School was the best high school in Longmen City with the best teachers. The school covered an area of 152 mu, which was huge. At the same time, DE Senior High School's cutoff score was rather high. There were only a handful of students in Xinjiang town who could reach the cutoff score. Yun Yi was one of them. On weekends, DE Senior High School's entrance was accessible as some students would go home on weekends. There were plenty of students who stayed in the dormitory as well. Yun Jian went straight to Yun Yi's classroom. Students who could enroll in DE Senior High School were generally among the best in Longmen City. These students had one thing in common: they were very conscientious in their studies. Therefore, even if there were no classes on weekends and no teachers were watching over them, these students who stayed in school would study by themselves in the classroom. When Yun Jian came to Yun Yi's classroom, she saw her elder brother doing his homework seriously in the classroom. There were plenty of other students studying by themselves as well. "Hey, look, there's a girl at the door. She's so pretty. Is she looking for someone in our class?" There were a few boys who were playing cards out of boredom in the classroom. One of them, who was sitting opposite the door, called out when he saw Yun Jian. His shout made everyone in the classroom look up at Yun Jian. When Yunyi looked up and saw her younger sister, she stood up in delight and walked out. "Xiao Jian, why are you here?" Yun Yi was obviously excited as she asked Yun Jian in surprise. "Go, Mom asked me to bring you a blanket. The cold air is coming soon. She's worried that you'll catch a cold," Yun Jian said as she placed the heavy woven bag in front of her. Yunyi nodded and took the heavy woven bag from Yun Jian as she asked, "How's Mom's injury?" "Mom's been discharged from the hospital. She's recovering well," Yun Jian answered Yun Yi with a sweet smile. Yun Yi's frown eased a little at her answer. "Hey, little beauty, where did you come from?" "TSK, TSK, TSK, you're not Yun Yi's little girlfriend, are you?" Another boy who walked out of the classroom suddenly. He placed his hand on Yun Jian's shoulder habitually and could not help teasing Yun. The boy's features were distinct and his looks were comparable to Yun Yi's. "Don't spout nonsense. This is my younger sister." Yun Yi slapped the boy's hand off her shoulder and explained to him before turning to introduce the boy to Yun Jian. "He's Su Hao Cole, my bro. He's never serious. Xiao Jian, don't stoop to his level." Yun Jian nodded and pressed her lips into a smile. This person was her brother's friend in school? "Heh heh heh," Su Hao Cole chuckled and greeted Yun Jian seriously. "Xiao Jian, it's rare for you to come to the city. I'll take you around the city first. Let's go home after lunch," Yun Yi told Yun Jian after they chatted for a while. Chapter 42. I'm coming too. Su Hao Cole added quickly when he heard that Yun Yi was bringing Yun Jian to shop downtown, afraid that Yun Yi and the rest would leave him behind. Thus, the trio left the school and took bus number 1 to the largest city center in Longmen City. After they got off the bus, Yun Yi did not know that Yun Jian had been here last week. He looked at his younger sister and said softly, "Xiao Jian, I didn't make it in time to bring you here when something happened to Mom last time. Buy whatever you want today." Yun Yi's pocket money was saved from meals. He could not bear to spend it on himself, but for her, he was generous. If she really bought a lot of toys that girls liked, Yun Yi might have to eat a lot of steamed buns and plain water for the next few days. Yun Jian's heart warmed as she shook her head at Yun Yi. "Go, we're just shopping. I don't need to buy anything." She had money, but it was inappropriate to take it out. Nevertheless, she had to improve her family's condition legitimately. This process would not take long. She wanted Yun Yi and Qin Yiru to live a good life. Aya, what are you two waiting for? Yun-yi, Mimi, buy whatever you want. It's my treat today. Su Haokol was naturally aware of Yun-yi and Yunjian's family background. He spoke generously and put an arm around Yun-yi's shoulder to lead the way. Su Haokol came from a well-to-do family and was usually carefree, but he never looked down on the poor. After strolling around the city center, Su Haokol pulled Yun-yi and Yunjian to a posh hotel. We agreed that it's my treat today. Otherwise, you guys are looking down on me. Su Haokol said as he brought Yun-yi and Yunjian to the posh hotel. Su Haokol was truly a good friend. He often had to take turns treating with Yun-yi. When it was Yun-yi's turn, they would buy snacks from small stalls. When it was Su Haokol's turn to treat himself, he insisted on dragging Yun-yi to a posh hotel. Such friends were hard to come by. The posh restaurant had a poetic name, Qingyun Hotel. Qingyun Hotel was a 4-star hotel. There were only a handful of such hotels in Longmen City. A meal here could cost half a month of a regular employee's salary. It was apparent that Su Haokol came from a wealthy family. It was just that even Yun-yi did not know what Su Haokol's family did. Entering the hotel, Su Haokol ordered a small private room and the waiter led Yunjian and her friends to the second floor. The small private room was at the east corner of the second floor. When Yunjian and her friends followed the waiter through the private rooms, they passed by a large private room. Zhang Taijun and his wife, Qin Junlan, were sitting in the large private room with wine glasses in hand, chatting enthusiastically with their clients. Suddenly, Qin Junlan's eyes lit up and she saw Yunjian and her friends through the door that was not closed when the waiter came in to deliver the dishes. Yunjian. Yun-yi. Why are both of you here? When Qin Junlan saw the three silhouettes, she shot up from her seat and walked to the door in her high heels. Yunjian had just reached the door of the large private room when she heard Qin Junlan's sharp and familiar voice. Her eyes narrowed as she stopped in her tracks and turned to look. She then saw Qin Junlan stomping towards her aggressively. Why are you guys here? There's no free lunch here. Can you guys afford it? Are you guys here to dine and dash? Qin Junlan made a conclusion on her own and spoke loudly to Yunjian and Yun-yi in front of everyone. Her voice was loud as if she was afraid that no one could hear her. Chapter 43. Yunjian had always known that her mother's biological sister, Qin Junlan's husband, Zhang Taijun, who was also her uncle in name, ran a small business. That was the truth. Qin Junlan was indeed here with her husband to discuss business with a client. They would not have chosen this 4-star hotel if it were not for the fact that the client today was rather important. After all, even with their family's financial situation, they could not afford to have a meal here. Clearly, Qin Junlan subconsciously thought that her sister's family had always been poor. They were so poor that they could not even pay for their children's school fees and could not even return the money they borrowed from her. However, how could she not be surprised to see Yunjian and Yun-yi having a meal in such a high-class hotel today? How could they have extra money to spend at such a high-class place? To hell with it. Hence, Qin Junlan stopped Yunjian and the rest in an aggressive tone. Why can't we be here? Are you saying that we can't stay at a place where you can? Yunjian scoffed. She really did not like this auntie in name. Look at you, child. How dare you talk back to your own auntie? How disrespectful. I really don't know how Yura taught you. With your family's situation, how could they let the two of you come here to eat and drink? Qin Junlan said angrily. There was only one reason for Qin Junlan's words. She was telling Yunjian in a roundabout way that her family still owed her money. How dare they come here to eat and drink when they had not returned the money? However, considering that there were outsiders here and Qin Junlan was someone who cared about her reputation, she gritted her teeth and looked at Yunjian and Yun-yi. In the next second, she pretended to be a good auntie and said earnestly, "It's not that I'm criticizing you, but it's not easy for your mothers to earn money. The money that they worked so hard to earn is not for you to squander like this." She hadn't even paid back the money she owed her family. I'm Yun-yi's friend. Today's meal is on me. Yun-yi doesn't spend a single cent. Yun-yi's aunt, don't talk nonsense. Su Hao-kol immediately stood up for Yun-yi. Anyone who wasn't an idiot could tell how much Qin Junlan hated Yun-yi and Yunjian. Su Hao-kol was already unhappy with Qin Junlan's tone. Now, he even helped Yun-yi and Yunjian to fight back. You? Qin Junlan shifted her gaze from Yunjian and Yun-yi to Su Hao-kol. Su Hao-kol was dressed well and did not look like a poor kid from the slums. Moreover, Su Hao-kol had just said that he was treating Yunjian and Yun-yi to this meal. One had to know that it was not cheap to have a meal in this place. Su Hao-kol was about the same age as Yun-yi. He must be a rich family's young master to be able to treat them here so casually. Qin Junlan, who was about to throw a tantrum, softened immediately. Considering that the young master from a rich family was Yun-yi's friend, her attitude changed immediately. Xiao Jian, Xiao Yi, I was just giving you a few words just now. After all, it's not easy for your mothers to earn money. You have to understand her. Qin Junlan's attitude toward Yunjian and Yun-yi changed from being tough to being submissive. If Yun-yi were to become friends with some rich young master, he would have a bright future ahead of him. Perhaps, as an aunt, she could even benefit from it. Chapter 44. We don't need outsiders to poke their noses into our family matters. I will protect my mother, Yunjian said, looking at Qin Junlan. The outsider, who was pointing fingers and gossiping was, of course, Qin Junlan. Qin Junlan heard Yunjian scolding her for being a busybody. She wanted to throw a tantrum, but she held it in because of her previous concerns. However, she felt indignant. Qin Junlan wanted to say something more. At this moment, Yunjian suddenly felt the change in the atmosphere. Tsk. Tisk. Yunjian heard two soft sounds that were undetectable by normal people. As a secret agent in her previous life, Yunjian was the only survivor who survived by stepping on countless bodies. She killed all the children who were captured to be trained by the organization and survived. At that time, she was in the organization. If she was not careful, she would be killed by her companions. If she wanted to live, she had to kill her companions and friends. She had no other choice. Therefore, Yunjian, who survived in that environment, was very sensitive to such soft sounds that normal people would not be able to detect. Silenced bullets. There were snipers lying in ambush. Yunjian, Yun-yi, and Su Hao-kol were standing at the door of the private room, right in the middle of the corridor. The sound of the silenced bullets came from the open window in the private room. Without hesitation, Yunjian suddenly stretched out her leg and gave Qin Junlan a hard kick. Qin Junlan was in so much pain that she fell to the ground before she could react. At the same time, Yunjian's hands were not idle. She pulled Yun-yi to the ground with one hand and pushed Su Hao-kol to the ground with the other while she dodged to the side. The two silenced bullets slid past her cheeks, one in front and one behind. They hit the white wall behind her, leaving two large holes. Yunjian, who had dodged the two silenced bullets, narrowed her eyes. Now that she had been reborn, she did not have any enemies, so the sniper's target was definitely not her. Judging from the direction of the sniper's shot, the person he really wanted to kill was him, Su Hao-kol. The three people who were pushed to the ground by Yunjian had no idea what had just happened. The bullets fired from the silenced sniper rifle only made a slight noise. Those who weren't experts wouldn't be able to hear it at all. In other words, even if he was hit, he wouldn't even know how he died. Qin Junlan, who had been pushed by Yunjian, stood up. She couldn't take it anymore. She thought that Yunjian had pushed her on purpose to embarrass herself. She stood up and shouted at Yunjian, "Yunjian, what are you doing? How dare you hit your own aunt? How rude. Do you have any morals?" Yuni scratched her head and stood up, not knowing what was going on. She looked at her sister who had pushed her for no reason. Su Hao-kol seemed to have realized something. He had just stood up when he heard Yunjian shouting at them, "There's a sniper ambush here. Hurry up and leave." Sniper? It wasn't the first time they had heard of this term. Sniper, wasn't that the type of gunman that often appeared in movies? Hearing Yun Jian's words, Qin Junlan wanted to scream at her. Where did the sniper come from? Why would there be a sniper out of nowhere? You kids have watched too many movies, haven't you? Are you hallucinating? Nonsense. Qin Junlan paused at the last word. She couldn't say anything else. This was because there were two big holes in the white wall in front of Qin Junlan. Two bright bullets had pierced through the white wall and were stuck in the middle. If Yun Jian hadn't tripped Qin Junlan just now, the first bullet would have pierced through Qin Junlan's head. Ah! Qin Junlan suddenly realized this and screamed in fright. Her whole body started to tremble violently. Oh God, if that bullet had pierced through her head, would she still be alive? Yun Yi and Su Haokol also noticed the two bullets that had pierced through the white wall. Both of them looked at Yun Jian in disbelief. There really were snipers around. If Yun Jian hadn't reacted quickly and pushed them down, the consequences would have been unimaginable, but as her brother, Yun Yi knew very well what kind of person Yun Jian was. His sister actually, at this moment, they heard Yun Jian's anxious voice again. Hurry up and leave. Find a place to hide. Hurry. Chapter 45. At this moment, Qin Junlan, Zhang Taijun, and their big clients all stood up and ran faster than anyone else. They were even mumbling, "Murder, murder. A sniper is going to kill." All the waiters, guests, and chefs of Tranquil Harmony Hotel ran for their lives when they heard the news. Rumors were the scariest but also the most effective. How could work be more important than one's life? Yun Jian and the other two were already standing behind a wall, out of the sniper's range. Both of you, leave quickly. I'm the one they want to kill. I can't be a burden to you guys, Su Haokol said solemnly to Yun Yi and Yun Jian with clenched fists. He did not bother to hide it then, flicking the corner of his shirt to pull out a pistol from his belt. You. Yun Yi stared at Su Haokol in shock, unable to believe that his best buddy would carry a pistol with him. Su Haokol chuckled dryly and looked at Yun Yi with determination to die, saying, I'm sorry I lied to you before. I'm actually the son of Dragon Head Gang's boss. This identity meant that his future would be extraordinary. Dragon Head Gang was the top mafia group in Longmen City's underground black market, controlling the underground trade of Longmen City. It was not surprising that Su Haokol could pull out a gun as the son of Dragon Head Gang's boss. Yun Yi was stunned. He did not expect his best buddy to have such a background. It was no wonder that Su Haokol had never mentioned his family background to him. Leave quickly. This has nothing to do with you guys. There's no need to drag you guys into this. Su Haokol roared at Yun Yi, prepared to die. Can you walk out of here alive alone? The sniper over there has his eyes on you. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and remained still, finally speaking up after a long period of silence. Su Haokol was the sniper's target. As long as he was exposed to the sniper's shooting range, he would die. Even if Su Haokol had some skills, he was not a match for the sniper. It was only then that Su Haokol and Yun Yi turned their gazes to Yun Jian. How could she still say something like this at this moment? Even so, I can't be a burden to you guys. Su Haokol looked at Yun Jian and said. Yun Yi was his bro. He could not let him and his sister get involved in dangerous matters because of him. Yun Jian studied Su Haokol again. She said calmly, her eyelashes fluttering. Very well. Give me the gun. Based on what Su Haokol said just now, she, Yun Jian, would save him. This. Su Haokol's eyes bulged and he was stunned. Give her the gun. She knows how to use it. That was impossible. This is a gun. Yun Yi looked at Yun Jian in surprise. Yun Jian stepped forward and snatched the gun from Su Haokol's hands. She held it in her hands and played with it. It's a Beretta handgun made in Italy. It has an effective shooting range of 50 meters. That's enough, Yun Jian said to herself as she played with the gun. However, when these words entered Su Hao's ears, it was like a huge wave had been swept up, causing him to be extremely shocked. She actually recognized the type of gun that this was? Judging from how she handled it, it didn't seem like it was her first time seeing a gun. She looked more like a veteran who had been playing with guns for years. How old was she? She was Yun Yi's sister. How could she have come into contact with a gun? Just as Su Haokol and Yun Yi were shocked, Yun Jian suddenly told them to stay here and don't come out. Then, she rolled out of the door where the sniper could shoot her. Was she crazy? If she went out, she would be shot to death by the sniper. Or rather, an even crazier idea appeared in Su Haokol and Yun Yi's minds. Could it be that Yun Jian wanted to use this gun to kill the sniper? Chapter 46. In the distance, from the window of the private room, a sniper in black tights held a sniper rifle as his dark eyes peered at Yun Jian's petite figure. Here's a suicide mission. The sniper's pupils contracted before he chuckled and set up his sniper rifle, aiming at where Yun Jian was. TSS, TSS, TSS. 3 consecutive shots were fired at Yun Jian's location from a high vantage point. The speed of the bullets was indiscernible to the naked eye, but it was not a problem for Yun Jian. Xiao Jian. Yun Yi wanted to dash out to protect her younger sister without a second thought, but it was Su Haokol who pulled Yun Yi back in the end. Su Haokol wanted to step out as well. After all, he was the cause of all this. However, looking at Yun Jian's sharp and nimble movements, he hesitated when he recalled that it was Yun Jian who pulled them away from the sniper's first round of shooting. If Yun Jian was not capable, how could she be so sensitive to the bullets and pull them away from them? On the other hand, once he was exposed to the sniper, he would probably be shot to death before he could even put up a fight. If that happened, he and Yun Yi would become Yun Jian's burden if they went out. On the other hand, Yun Jian did not retreat against the 3 bullets. She rolled on the ground with her pistol and dodged the bullets before she stood up and continued to approach the window. Until she was completely exposed to the sniper. Theoretically, it would be easier for the sniper to kill her. Would that really be the outcome though? Was she not afraid of dying? Or was she completely confident? Su Haokol frowned. When Yun Yi saw the 3 bullets grazing past her younger sister Yun Jian again and burrowing 3 large holes in the ground, she was so worried that her heart almost stopped beating. What surprised him more, however, was that Xiao Jian had managed to evade the volley of bullets. This was a sniper's barrage of bullets, it wasn't child's play. F***CK. The sniper who was hiding in the best spot could not help cursing when he saw how Yun Jian dodged his strafing shot easily and stood at the spot where it was easiest for him to shoot her without regard for her life. This girl was not even 18 yet, was she not? She had dodged his shot just now. More importantly, she dared to expose herself right in front of him. Was she implying that he could not kill her? Enraged, the sniper refocused and pulled the wrench with his index finger, ready to end Yun Jian. Swish. A gunshot that the sniper could not be more familiar with rang out. He looked up abruptly to see the girl standing by the window putting away her pistol and flashing him a sly smile. With a plop, the sniper collapsed to the ground in the next second, dead from a headshot. Yun Jian had only used 1 shot to kill the sniper in a second. Su Haozhe was standing in the dark, but he could clearly see what was going on here. He suppressed the fear in his heart, and his entire body trembled in shock. He had not seen wrongly just now. 1 shot. Yun Jian had killed the sniper from afar with a raise of her hand. Killing a sniper from high up in the air? That was inconceivable. Su Haokol was sure that he had never heard of such a thing before. Bang, headshot. Putting down her pistol, Yun Jian pressed her lips together as an eerie smirk spread across her face. There was no trace of the terror that one would feel after killing someone. On the contrary, Su Haokol and Yun Yi actually saw a trace of naturalness in Yun Jian's expression, as if she was such a person to begin with. Yun Yi breathed a sigh of relief when she saw that Yun Jian was fine, but she frowned slightly. Chapter 47. Right now, Yun Yi was deeply suspicious of Yun Jian. Ever since he returned home the last time, Xiao Jian had been behaving strangely. In addition to the phone call he made in the restaurant in Xinjiang town, as well as the strange martial arts skills he displayed later on. If it were not for the fact that his younger sister still looked the same, he would have suspected that she was a different person. In spite of it, Yun Yi held it in and did not ask. He chose to believe in his younger sister. Even if there were any variables, Xiao Jian would tell him herself one day. Yun Jian noticed Yun Yi's change in mentality as well, but she did not point it out, choosing to skip the explanation as well. She was truly speechless, unable to explain it to Yun Yi. If she did not do anything just now, was she supposed to wait for her death? That was not her style. Yun Jian then turned to Su Hao Cole and asked, "Dragon Head Gang has taken care of the sniper's body, right?" Yes. Su Hao Cole was still in shock and quickly answered Yun Jian when he snapped back to reality. Yun Jian nodded with a small smile. But it looks like we won't be able to enjoy this delicacy now. Su Hao Cole and Yun Yi were stunned again. What do you mean? Su Hao Cole asked in bewilderment. Someone called the police. The police are here. They're downstairs, Yun Jian replied. How did you know? Su Hao Cole exclaimed again. They did not hear anything from downstairs. Yun Jian was here too, how would she know what was going on downstairs? I'll listen. Yun Jian's lips curled into a beautiful smile before she continued, follow me. We'll leave from the back door here. Then, she led the way forward. Until they left the 4-star hotel's back door, Su Hao Cole and Yun Yi were still in a daze. Why is Yun Jian so familiar with the back door here? Su Hao Cole was a regular here. Even he did not know where the back door of this hotel was. How did Yun Jian know the route so clearly? If Yun Jian knew what these two people were thinking, she would definitely laugh. The reason why her detection, anti-tracking, and concealment abilities were so powerful was because of her strong perception. For example, if she encountered an unexpected situation, how should she hide, escape, and counterattack? These were all necessary lessons for an agent. Therefore, from the moment she stepped into this hotel, she had already seen through everything around her. The three of them did not expect to encounter the situation just now, but in the end, Su Hao Cole still insisted on treating them. After lunch, Yun Jian took the bus home in the afternoon. She had nothing to do in Longmen City anyway. Of course, there were some things that could not be rushed. For example, she had mentioned before that she wanted to start a business. When Yun Jian returned home at around 3:30 p.m., she saw Li Xiangyi standing at the door in a daze. Startled, Yun Jian went up to him. Wow, Yun Jian, you're finally home. I finally found your house, but I heard from your neighbor that your family isn't home. I've been waiting for you here for almost half an hour. Li Xiangyi could not help grumbling when he saw Yun Jian. No one was home. Qin Yiru was not home. Yun Jian was taken aback. Did she go to work at the textile factory with her injury? Why are you looking for me? Yun Jian looked at Li Xiangyi and asked curiously. Chapter 48. A welcome party? Yun Jian was stunned. Was it to welcome her into their basketball team? Yun Jian was stunned because it was the first time someone would hold such a welcome party to welcome her into a team. Hey, what's wrong? Li Xiangyi waved his hand to greet Yun Jian when he saw her lack of response. Go ahead. Yun Jian indicated that she was still listening. That's settled then. At 6:00 tonight, you can meet everyone at the bar in our town. Li Xiangyi chuckled and left after saying his goodbyes. Yun Jian nodded and moved her lips. After Li Xiangyi left, Yun Jian went home, but when she opened the door, Yun Jian frowned. The living room should have been neat and tidy, but when she opened the door, it looked like a burglar had ransacked the place. The trash in the trash can on the floor was all over the place, while the drawers and cabinets were all opened and rummaged through. From the living room to the kitchen and then to the bedroom, the mess was unbearable. What had happened at home when she was in Longmen City? Few, hurried footsteps came from the door as a girl panting heavily stepped through the door and stood in front of Yunjian. Yunjian saw the girl's face at the same time. She was pretty and looked like a well-behaved girl. She was about 13 or 14 years old and was very petite. In her memory, the girl was her uncle's daughter, Yun Xiaoya. She rarely interacted with the original owner of her body, so why was she here today? Yun Xiaoya huffed and puffed. Ignoring the fact that she was out of breath from running, she cried out to Yunjian, "Cousin, bad news. Second uncle has a bad woman outside and she's here today. She's at the hall now and she's fighting with auntie." Yun Xiaoya was Yunjian's uncle's daughter and the uncle she mentioned was Yunjian's current father, Yun Gang. The auntie she mentioned was naturally Qin Yiru. Yunjian's eyelid twitched. Had Qin Yiru not gone to work in the textile factory? This was not the point. The point was that Yun Gang had a mistress. As the father of 2 children, Yun Gang had run away after failing to repay the loan he borrowed from the loan shark some time ago and dumped all his debts to his family. He even had a mistress outside? More importantly, he had disappeared for a few days and the mistress had come to his house to beat up his mother? Yun Jian was enraged. She told Yun Xiaoya, "Let's go," and walked out of the house, running to the hall, without even closing the door. At the entrance to the people's hall, the townspeople crowded round the door of the great hall to watch the spectacle. In the middle of the doorway, a woman dressed rather fashionably grabbed Qin Yiru's hair with a pair of hands painted with thick nail polish, scolding and beating her. The surrounding people tried to pull this woman away, but this woman's strength was very strong, and they couldn't pull her away. Qin Yiru's scalp was almost torn off by the woman. Her hand was still recovering, and Qin Yiru was weak, so she was no match for the woman. She could only let her hair be pulled and pulled. "Old woman. Old woman. Bah, you look like this. You must be blind. How dare you fight with me?" The mistress pulled Qin Yiru's hair and spat out saliva. She looked very self-righteous. The onlookers shook their heads and sighed. This was what it meant to be a mistress. How could she be so self-righteous? When Yun Jian arrived, this was what she saw. The mistress was pulling Qin Yiru's hair and pulling Qin Yiru back and forth. A few people tried to stop the mistress, but they were pushed away. Yun Jian's rage surged to her head when she saw what happened. It was the first time she was so pissed. The scene was chaotic and out of control. Yun Jian's figure flashed and she arrived in front of the mistress. Everyone was shocked. Who was this girl who suddenly appeared? Before they could react, Yun Jian took a few steps forward. She arrived in front of the menacing mistress and flung her hand. Slap. A slap landed on the mistress's face. This slap was very strong. The mistress was forced to let go of Qin Yiru's hair. Her face was almost deformed by Yun Jian's slap. The mistress fell to the ground. Everyone was shocked. The mistress was very strong. She could still hold Qin Yiru's hair even when so many people tried to pull her away. In the end, this young girl who had appeared out of nowhere had sent him flying. Her face was almost deformed. Chapter 49. Ah! The mistress who was flung away shrieked and fell to the ground, unable to recover for a long time. Yun Jian went up to help Qin Yiru up from the ground, only to see huge teardrops falling from Qin Yiru's wrinkled face. Qin Yiru was motionless as Yun Jian helped her up, looking lost. "Mom," Yun Jian called out softly, her heart aching. She did not know how to comfort someone, so she hugged her mother who was in despair and placed her hand on Qin Yiru's back to pat her a few times to comfort her. Yun Jian knew that to Qin Yiru, everything Yun Gang had done before was tolerable. The only thing she could not tolerate was Yun Gang having an affair with a woman. Otherwise, Qin Yiru would have divorced Yun Gang a long time ago and lived alone. The most important reason why Qin Yiru had persisted in not getting a divorce all these years was for the sake of her children. She did not want her children to be fatherless. No matter how much of a jerk Yun Gang was, he had never had an affair. This was also the reason why Qin Yiru had held herself back from getting a divorce and living with Yun Gang. The couple had lost all feelings for each other a long time ago. Their children were their only tie. Xiao Jian, mommy's suffering. Qin Yiru stammered as she trembled. Mom, it's my turn to protect you from now on. Yun Jian patted Qin Yiru's back and said firmly. The people who were watching the show whispered to each other as more and more people gathered in front of the hall to watch the show. Xiao Jian. Sis Yiru. A middle-aged man who looked to be in his 40s appeared in front of Yun Jian and called out cautiously. The man was Yun Jian's father, Yun Zheng, who was also Yun Jian's uncle. The Yun family had 2 sons. The eldest son was Yun Zheng. He was a simple and honest man, a true farmer. The second son, Yun Gang, was Yun Jian's father. Yun Gang was not a stable person. Not only did he gamble, but he also drank too much. Even Yun Zheng himself felt that it was hard for Qin Yiru to marry his younger brother Yun Gang. Uncle. Yun Jian could feel that Qin Yiru was no longer as agitated as before, but she still gently comforted Qin Yiru. She looked at the middle-aged man in front of her who was dressed like a villager and called out softly. In her memory, although this uncle of hers wasn't completely devoted to her family, he wasn't bad either. At least when he saw Qin Yiru being beaten up by the mistress, Yun Zheng went to help Qin Yiru. However, the mistress was too strong and he couldn't pull her away. Yun Zheng responded and sighed softly. Hey, the mistress is running away. If he couldn't win, he would run. How could there be such a thing? A talkative woman's voice came from the group of people who were watching the show. Yun Jian supported Qin Yiru. When she turned her head, she saw that the mistress had already climbed up from the ground. She grabbed her bag and was about to leave quietly. She wanted to leave just like that after hitting her mother. Just when everyone thought that the mistress would run away, they suddenly saw Yun Jian supporting Qin Yiru to bend down and pick up a small stone from the ground. What was she doing? Everyone present, including Yun Zheng and Yun Xiaoya, was stunned. In Yun Zheng's memory, his niece had always been a timid person. But just now, she actually went forward and slapped the mistress away. Just when everyone present was puzzled, they saw Yun Jian pick up the small stone and throw it in the direction of the mistress. Unlike an ordinary stone, this seemingly harmless pebble was actually as sharp as a sword. Later, everyone heard a plop sound coming from the other side. Then, the mistress knelt on the ground with a thud. The small stone that Yun Jian threw also fell beside the mistress. A small stone actually had such power that it directly made a person kneel on the ground? Everyone looked at this scene in shock. They saw that Yun Jian had already helped Qin Yiru to a nearby bench and walked over. You hit my mother and smashed my house. If you don't explain clearly, you still want to leave here alive? Yun Jian's indifferent voice sounded. Although it was indifferent, those who were familiar with Yun Jian would know that this was the expression of Yun Jian's anger. Chapter 50. You want to leave this place alive if you don't explain yourself? Yun Jian's nonchalant but arrogant words echoed in everyone's ears. Should such words really come from an underage girl? If Yun Jian had said that in the beginning, no one present would have taken it seriously. In spite of it, just recalling what Yun Jian had done just now was enough to send chills down the spines of the crowd. Bah, damn girl, what are you talking about? Who are you trying to scare? I've been scared since I was young. Do you think I'm scared of you? The mistress was not a pushover to begin with. Thinking that she could not get anything out of this, she wanted to escape amidst the chaos. She did not expect Yun Jian to attack her again, so her temper flared as she yelled at Yun Jian. The mistress was actually from Xinjiang town. She was around 30 years old but looked like she was in her 20s due to good maintenance. The reason why she followed Yun Gang was because Yun Gang was a gambler. He didn't lose money every time he went to the casino. Sometimes, Yun Gang would win hundreds or thousands of dollars, earning a huge sum of money. Of course, Yun Gang would never bring home the money he won from the casino. He gave it all to his mistress to buy branded bags, eat well, and wear well, living like an immortal. That was why the mistress followed Yun Gang. Qin Yiru still thought that Yun Gang had never won money in the casino. Little did she know that the money he won was used to keep a mistress. Of course, the mistress was here today because Yun Gang went missing or because he had borrowed money from loan sharks. Seeing that her money tree was gone, she came to Qin Yiru's house to kick up a fuss. She even asked for compensation, but Qin Yiru refused to give it to her. As a result, they got into an argument and ended up in this situation. Yun Jian ignored the mistress's aggressive words and continued to walk to where the mistress was. "Xiao Jian, what are you doing?" Yun Zheng could not help asking when he saw Yun Jian heading there. His heart was thumping. He had a feeling that something was about to happen. The mistress didn't realize the danger at all. Instead, she tidied up her hair and waved her hand. She looked at Yun Jian with disdain and continued to mock her. "Your mother is such an old woman. She can't stop her husband from cheating on her. How can she blame me? Let me tell you, an old and ugly woman like your mother, even if she died, it wouldn't be enough." Ah. The last word was stuck in the mistress's mouth. Yun Jian strode forward and stood in front of the mistress in a flash. He grabbed Little Three's hair fiercely and dragged Little Three along with him. "Ah. What are you doing? Wretched girl, wretched wretch. Let go of your filthy hands." Little Three tried to resist several times, but found that she couldn't even touch the corner of Yun Jian's clothes. She didn't realize that Yun Jian's silence represented the arrival of her misfortune, and her mouth became even more poisonous. "You pulled out a lot of my mother's hair just now. Now, give it back." Yun Jian's low voice traveled to everyone's ears as she grabbed Little Three's hair with one hand. Everyone shuddered again. In the next second, a horrifying scene unfolded before their eyes. Yun Jian held Little Three with one hand and grabbed Little Three's hair with the other, pulling it out harshly. Like pulling wool, Yun Jian plucked a bunch of hair from Little Three's scalp. After Yun Jian was done, she continued to pull out another bunch. Chapter 51. The mistress who was lying on the floor was bald and her black hair was scattered all over the floor. Her scalp was bleeding profusely. In spite of it, no one stepped forward. Since ancient times, mistresses had always been an abominable existence. Moreover, this mistress knew that she was a mistress, but she still had the nerve to be so aggressive. Other than Qin Yiru, who was still drowning in grief and did not notice Yun Jian's actions, everyone else looked at Yun Jian with goosebumps. Some of them even turned away, not daring to look at the gory scene. "From now on, this is the outcome of whoever dares to bully my mom." Yun Jian was terrifyingly silent as she spoke calmly and pointed at the unconscious mistress on the floor. "Also, if any one of you dares to spread rumors about what happened today, I guarantee that she'll never be able to open her mouth again. You can try if you don't believe me." Yun Jian's deep gaze scanned the people who were watching the show. Yun Gang had a mistress and the mistress came to ask for money boldly and beat up the original wife. Yun Jian knew that if she did not say that, it would not be long before these gossipy women who were watching the show would spread the story with exaggerated details. She would not tolerate such a thing happening. Perhaps it was because Yun Jian was too ruthless just now, no one dared to make a sound. There was only one thought in everyone's mind. This girl was only 15 years old and she did such a cruel thing without batting an eyelid. Not long after, the group of people who were watching the show dispersed without a word. Yun Zheng hesitated for a while before he went to Yun Jian. Looking at his niece who had become a stranger to him, he pursed his lips and said, "Xiao Jian, you," the words that were on the tip of his tongue were hesitant. He could not possibly persuade Yun Jian to abandon her father, could he? He was her biological younger brother after all. "Uncle, thank you for asking Xiaoya to inform me just now. I'll bring my mom home first." Yun Jian eased the awkward atmosphere and walked over to help Qin Yiru, who was sitting on the bench, up. Then they slowly walked home. Yun Gang was the guide of everything, but now he ran away alone and threw all the chores to Qin Yiru. Yun Jian thought that she could not let her mother live with such a man. He couldn't cut it, and it was a mess. This matter should have been settled long ago. After returning home, Yun Jian helped Qin Yiru sit on the bench and poured a cup of hot water for her. Qin Yiru didn't say anything along the way, which made Yun Jian's heart ache for a while. A few days ago, something happened to Qin Yiru. As Yun Gang's husband, no one knew where he went. Now, a mistress came to find him. He even owed a huge debt, yet he ran away without a trace. Although Yun Jian had paid off the debt, a person like him was not worthy of being her father. At night, Yun Jian made dinner for Qin Yiru and left at 5:50 p.m. sharp. She still remembered Li Xiangyi's invitation. In spite of it, she was worried about Qin Yiru's current state. "Mom, I'm going out for a while. Remember to eat dinner. Your body is yours, don't make life difficult for yourself." Yun Jian went to Qin Yiru and tucked a few strands of Qin Yiru's white hair behind her ear, telling her seriously. "Go, Xiao Jian. I'm fine, I'm really fine." Qin Yiru opened her pale lips and forced the words out. To prevent Yun Jian from worrying, she even forced a smile that was uglier than crying. Chapter 52. Xinjiang town was considered a large town in the countryside of Longmen City. There were many towns in the countryside of Longmen City, but Xinjiang town was one of the top ones among them. Among these towns, Xinjiang town's new rock bar was the first of its kind in history. At the entrance of the rock bar, when Yun Jian came out of her house, it was already 5:50 p.m., and her house was not far from the rock bar. So when he arrived, it was exactly 6:00, not a minute later. "Hey, Yun Jian, over here." Seeing Li Xiangyi waving at her from afar, Yun Jian walked over. "You're on time." Wu Kuei looked at his watch and teased Yun Jian. "I'm not late, 6:00. Yun Jian pressed her lips together lightly. All right. Li Xiangyi chuckled and pulled a tall and handsome boy over to introduce him to Yun Jian. "Yun Jian, this is our basketball team's captain, Wen Rui. Let's get to know each other." Wen Rui was the captain of the basketball team and had not appeared before. Wen Rui was a sunny boy just by looking at him. He was in the prime of his youth and looked radiant. "Hello." Wen Rui greeted first. Hello. I'm Yun Jian." Yun Jian did not beat around the bush. "Heh, everyone's here now. Why are we still standing at the entrance? Let's go in." Li Xiangyi pushed and shoved his way into the rock bar with a group of boys from the basketball team. "Let's go in too," Wen Rui said with an elegant smile. It was hard to imagine that such a sunny boy with a scholarly air would be the captain of the school's basketball team. However, the strange things Yun Jian had seen paled in comparison to this. The group entered the bar. Like its name, the rock bar had a rock theme and the interior was decorated in European and American colors. There were not many people at the bar at this time, but there would still be some. After all, there were so many towns nearby, and Xinjiang town was the only town with a bar. The people from other towns had to come here to relax. In order to welcome Yun Jian to the basketball team, Li Xiangyi had already made arrangements and booked a private room. After the group entered the bar, the waiter led them to the private room. Just as they passed by the bar counter, a group of delinquents suddenly appeared and blocked the path of Yun Jian and the others. One of the boys standing at the front, dressed like a rich playboy, looked at Wen Rui lazily and said with bad intentions, "Yo, Wen Rui, I heard that there's a new member in your basketball team. And it's a woman?" When Wen Rui saw this guy, his footsteps clearly paused. When enemies meet, their eyes blaze with hatred. Wen Rui also looked at the boy with hatred. He gritted his teeth and said, "Zhang Jun, don't mess things up. I don't want to argue with you guys today." The boy named Zhang Jun was from Dongjiang town, a neighboring town to Xinjiang town. At the same time, Zhang Jun was also in the third year of junior high school in Dongjiang town. Coincidentally, this Zhang Jun was the captain of Dongjiang Town's basketball team. A few days later, Xinjiang Town would be having a friendly basketball match with another school. They would be playing against Dongjiang Town's basketball team. Of course, there were not that many coincidences in the world. This Zhang Jun probably knew that they were holding a welcome party for Yunjian and purposely came here to join in the fun. Ioyo, what are you talking about? Wen Roy, look at us. We just want to see the new member of your basketball team. Do you have to be so petty? Zhang Jun looked like a ruffian as he stuck his neck out and sized up Yunjian. Chapter 53. The reason why Zhang Jun brought his men to surround Wen Roy and the rest was to see how good the girl who had just joined their basketball team was. He thought that the girl would either be big or strong enough to be invited to join the team. He did not expect her to be such a skinny little girl. Hence, Zhang Jun looked at Yunjian and could not help but mock her. How could such a thin and weak little girl play basketball? Zhang Jun, don't stir up trouble. Otherwise, don't blame us for being rude to you. Wu Kuei clenched his fist. If Li Xiangyi had not held him back, he would have really fought with Zhang Jun. Zhang Jun snorted when he did that. Fine, I won't talk much with you guys today. Let's rely on our own abilities on the basketball court. Zhang Jun snorted in a weird tone. He raised his head arrogantly and looked at Yunjian and the rest from the corner of his eyes. You said it yourself. Zhang, don't go back on your words. Wu Kuei clenched his fist when he heard that. Actually, Wen Roy, Wu Kuei, Li Xiangyi, and the rest could tell that Zhang Jun was looking down on Yunjian. However, no one tried to clear Yunjian's name. That was because Yunjian was their basketball team's trump card. Of course, they had to wait until the crucial moment to reveal their trump card. Let Zhang Jun be cocky. He won't be able to be cocky for long. Brothers, let's go. Zhang Jun thought that with Yunjian's burden, his team's chances of winning would be 90%. Hence, he said that to his men. The group turned around and walked out of the rock and roll bar proudly. Don't care about them. Rascal, let them be cocky for a few more days. Wu Kuei spat in the direction where Zhang Jun and the rest left and shouted. Yunjian had not made a sound since just now, watching quietly with a smirk on her lips. The appearance of Zhang Jun and the rest did not seem to cause any dissatisfaction among the basketball team members. On the contrary, they were even more fired up. They had all seen Yunjian's skills. Yunjian looked thin and weak, but when she threw the ball, she threw it directly into the basketball hoop from a distance of 30 to 40 meters. This wasn't something that could be done by just anyone. Therefore, apart from the excitement of the basketball match, everyone was also looking forward to it. After entering the exclusive room of the rock bar, their ears finally quieted down. Yunjian sat in the private room of the bar. Her sitting posture was lazy, but it revealed a breathtaking beauty. Although it was held to welcome Yunjian into the basketball team, it was just a simple gathering for everyone to sit down and catch up. In order to liven up the atmosphere, Wen Roy even asked for a few bottles of higher-grade wine from the waiter. He was very considerate and thought that girls probably wouldn't drink, so he asked for a big bottle of orange juice for Yunjian. The waiter quickly brought it over. Wen Roy placed the orange juice in front of Yunjian and said, "You're a girl. Drink this." Yunjian did not reach out to take the bottle of orange juice. She looked at Wen Roy and smiled. Since it's for fun, how can I spoil everyone's fun? I can drink wine. Moreover, she had the constitution of not getting drunk even after 1,000 cups. Wen Roy was stunned. He thought that most girls did not know how to drink, or that they would get drunk after drinking, so he asked for juice for Yunjian. He did not expect Yunjian to drink. Since Yunjian said so, he did not hesitate and poured a glass for Yunjian. Everyone saw Yunjian put the glass to her nose and tasted it carefully. She said softly, 1992 Lafite red wine. Then, she drank the wine in the glass and pursed her lips. It tastes good. Everyone present was stunned. Even the waiter who was standing at the side was stunned. This was indeed a 1992 Lafite red wine. Chapter 54. Although they were surprised, they didn't stop. They all picked up their wine glasses and started drinking. A few of the boys' faces were flushed red after 1 or 2 glasses of wine. They were delirious and seemed to be a little drunk. On the other hand, Wen Rui, who had a refined and scholarly appearance, was quite capable when it came to drinking. After drinking a few glasses of wine, he turned to look at Yun Jian, who had also drunk a few glasses of wine. However, he saw that Yun Jian's face wasn't red, her heart wasn't racing, and there wasn't even the slightest change in her expression. It was as if what she had just drunk wasn't wine but plain water. Needless to say, Wen Rui's alcohol tolerance was good. This was something that everyone knew. However, even so, after a few glasses of wine, he already felt a little uncomfortable. His face was even a little flushed. However, Yun Jian actually acted as if nothing had happened. Could it be that she wasn't drunk even after 1,000 glasses? In reality, Yun Jian was indeed not drunk even after 1,000 glasses. Come. Drink. In the end, the boys pushed and shoved each other. A few of them were drunk. Li Xiangyi had long lost consciousness. Wen Rui and Wu Kuei were still all right. Of course, Yun Jian was in the best condition. You guys can't even compare to a girl. Get up, drink. Let's not go home until we're drunk. Wu Kuei seemed especially agitated. He held his wine glass and ran over to those who were about to pass out drunk. He was mumbling to himself. They're just like that. Don't be scared. Wen Rui sat beside Yun Jian. He looked at Yun Jian and smiled embarrassedly. Yun Jian looked at the group of hot-blooded youths and nodded. This is very good. It was very good to have this kind of youth. Because she was worried that Qin Yiru would be alone at home, Yun Jian left early in the morning. This gathering was held to welcome Yun Jian into the basketball team. Now that the main character had left, everyone naturally dispersed. Hence, the boys who weren't drunk helped those who were unconscious back to their respective homes. It was 7:30 p.m. when Yun Jian returned home. Qin Yiru had already gone to bed early. The bowls and chopsticks on the table were barely touched, but at least Qin Yiru had eaten some food. Yun Jian collected the bowls and chopsticks and went back to her room to rest. The next day, Sunday. When it was almost 10 o'clock in the evening, Yun Jian carried her school bag and rushed to school for evening self-study. She came early. When she arrived, there was no one in the classroom. Then, more and more people came. When Lu Fian arrived, Yun Jian had already been at school for half an hour. Once Lu Fian arrived at school, she sprinted to Yun Jian without even putting down her bag, mumbling, Xiao Jian, bad news. Lin Mengyu's been discharged. I think she's going back to school today. Lin Mengyu? Yun Jian frowned. If Lu Fian hadn't suddenly mentioned it, she would have almost forgotten who this person was. Oh. Yun Jian replied softly and continued to read the book in her hand. Aya, Xiao Jian. Panicking, Lu Fian pushed Yun Jian's book down and said seriously, Lin Mengyu's the principal's daughter. It was our school hunk, Yuan Ingjun, who suppressed this incident last time. But Lin Mengyu's going back to school. With her personality, she won't act like nothing happened. I'm just worried that you'll... Lu Fian panicked even more as she spoke. Yun Jian cut her off and comforted her. Since I hit her, why would I be afraid of her? Lu Fian was genuinely concerned about her. Yun Jian knew that. Chapter 55. She's here so soon. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. Lu Fian, on the other hand, was startled and tugged on Yun Jian's sleeve tightly. She was fine, but she was afraid that something would happen to Yun Jian. Yun Jian patted the back of Lu Fian's hand to comfort her before she tossed her books on the table and stood up. Where's the office? Yun Jian asked with a glance at Wang Ruru. She had never been to the teacher's office since she was reborn. Pfft, Yunjian, have you lost your mind? Or are you scared? You're so scared that you forgot where the office is? There, it's over there. Go on. Wang Ruru smirked and gave Yunjian a disdainful glance before pointing in a direction. Yunjian went to where Wang Ruru pointed. Xiao Jian. Lu Fian, who stood where she was, clasped her hands together tightly as she watched Yunjian disappear from her sight. The teacher's office was also in the school building and was not far from the classroom. After Yunjian left the classroom, she found the office and strode in gracefully. The layout of the office was not complicated and there were many teachers working at their desks. Yunjian's homeroom teacher was Ms. Jean. She found Ms. Jin's desk once she entered. The person sitting at Ms. Jin's desk was not Ms. Jean herself but Lin Mengyu, who had just been discharged from the hospital. Beside Lin Mengyu stood a bald middle-aged man in his 50s. Yunjian had seen this middle-aged man on Monday when the national flag was raised. As expected, he must be Lin Mengyu's father, Xinjiang Town Junior High School's principal. She's here. She's here. Watching Yunjian walk over, Lin Mengyu pointed a finger at her viciously, looking like she wanted to tear Yunjian into pieces. Lin Mengyu hated Yunjian as much as she loved Yuan Yingjun. She had been recuperating in the hospital for the past few days. Due to the bone fracture in her abdomen, it took a lot of effort just to set the bone. Moreover, during the time she was hospitalized, Yingjun actually broke up with her. All of this was because of Yunjian. If it wasn't for her, how could she have ended up like this? Is this Yunjian from your class? Principal Lin stuck out his fat beer belly. When he saw Yunjian, the murderer, who made his daughter suffer for a long time, he spoke to Teacher Jean fiercely. Principal Lin, I think there must be some misunderstanding. I've taught Yunjian since she was in her first year of junior high school. She's a good student. She wouldn't do something like that to your daughter. Can you give her another chance? Teacher Jean knew Yunjian's character, so she didn't directly criticize Yunjian just because she wanted to flatter the principal. However, Principal Lin was here today to avenge his daughter, Lin Mengyu. He did not care about anything else. He pointed at Yunjian and said aggressively to Teacher Jean, "Good student? Do good students know how to fight?" Just this point alone is already a serious violation of our school's rules, not to mention that she injured Mengyu. Principal Lin paused and ordered Teacher Jean in an absolute tone, "Our school can't afford to have a student like this. Today, I want you to make this girl pack up and leave. Make her withdraw from the school for me. Otherwise, Teacher Jean, you know the consequences." Humph. Of course, Teacher Jean knew the consequences. She knew that Principal Lin meant that if she didn't expel Yunjian today, she would be the one to pack up and leave. However, Yunjian was indeed a good student in her eyes. Although her grades were a little bad, she was always hardworking. Chapter 56. Yunjian blinked. She did not expect Teacher Jean to speak up for her. After all, there were not many people who could still uphold their teaching principles under Principal Lin's coercion, and Teacher Jean was one of them. Yunjian naturally did not want to put Teacher Jean in a difficult position. She glanced at Lin Mengyu, who was hiding behind Principal Lin, and said, "I did hit Lin Mengyu." Everyone present, including the teachers in the office who were watching the show, was stunned. They did not expect Yunjian to admit to it. Principal Lin's beer belly shook in anger at that. Just as he was about to retort in rage, Yunjian snatched the right to speak again. Yunjian continued, "Because Lin Mengyu hit me first, I'd like to ask you, Principal, if fighting is a violation of the school rules and will lead to expulsion, shouldn't Lin Mengyu be expelled together with me?" As soon as he said that, even Principal Lin's expression changed. All the teachers present were stunned. They thought that this female student would plead with Principal Lin for her, but they did not expect her to not be afraid of being expelled. She even shamelessly wanted Lin Mengyu to be expelled together with her. Did she not know that Lin Mengyu was Principal Lin's daughter? How could Principal Lin expel his own daughter? Nonsense, when did I hit you? Look at you, you're still fine. You don't look injured at all. Yun Jian, don't you have any shame? Lin Mengyu lied through her teeth, even twisting the facts. Principal Lin was naturally on his daughter's side. He immediately said, Mengyu is a kind person. How could she hit you? How could she do something as ungentlemanly as fighting? I think you're the one who's pestering me endlessly. You're so young, but you're still making irresponsible remarks after hitting someone. Shameless. Xinjiang Town High School can't afford a student like you. What Principal Lin meant was, scram back to where you came from. Lin Mengyu was a kind person. Yun Jian almost laughed out loud. This joke was more amusing than a pig flying freely in the sky. The surrounding teachers sighed in their hearts when they saw that. Actually, they knew very well who was right and who was wrong. After all, everyone had seen Lin Mengyu's performance in school. However, they did not say it out loud. They did not dare to provoke the principal, so they kept it to themselves. The teachers thought, this female student, of all people, why did she have to provoke the principal's daughter? She's going to be in trouble today. You have to withdraw from today's school even if you don't want to. Principal Lin roared as his body trembled in anger after he finished his string of words. Just wait for the withdrawal notice. Principal Lin glared at Yun Jian from the corner of his eyes and snorted before turning to help Lin Mengyu, who was sitting on the chair in front of Miss Jin's desk and leaving in a huff. Hey, Principal Lin, don't be angry. Yun Jian didn't know any better and said too much. Yun Jian, hurry up and apologize to Principal Lin. Teacher Jean panicked when she saw that Principal Lin was about to leave. Yun Jian's expulsion was set in stone. She quickly pulled Yun Jian aside and asked her to apologize to Principal Lin. She wanted to appease Principal Lin's anger first. Tugged by Miss Jean, Yun Jian went to stand with her. Just as all the teachers in the office, including Principal Lin and Teacher Jean, thought that Yun Jian knew her mistake and would tactfully beg for forgiveness or apologize, Principal Lin stood before Principal Lin. Yun Jian stood in front of Principal Lin and said, 156 Biyao Road, 2nd floor, room 202, Xinjiang Town. What was that? A huge question mark floated above everyone's head when they heard Yun Jian's words. In spite of it, Principal Lin was the only one who shuddered when he heard her. Wasn't that the address of his old flame's house? Chapter 57. Principal Lin's expression was as ugly as if he had just eaten dog sh*t. It was not easy for him to get to where he was today. If he was found to have a mistress as the principal of a school, there would be many people who would use this as an excuse to make a big deal out of it. If the higher-ups found out about this, he would lose his position as principal. Moreover, his wife was not someone to be trifled with. If this got out, he would lose all his face. Principal Lin raised his head to look at Yun Jian, only to see the girl looking at him with a smile. There was a strong sense of threat in her eyes. Dad, let's not bother about Yun Jian. She always likes to say weird things for no reason. Let's just get her out of here, humph. Lin Mengyu thought that Yun Jian's brain had been flooded with water when she heard what she said just now, so she urged Principal Lin. Lin Mengyu thought that her father, who had always been protective of her, would scold Yun Jian loudly. However, Principal Lin's next move shocked everyone present. Mengyu, shut up. The scene that everyone expected to see of Principal Lin scolding Yun Jian did not happen. Instead, Principal Lin scolded his own daughter, Lin Mengyu. Lin Mengyu was stunned for a while after being scolded by her own father. She looked at Principal Lin in disbelief. Dad, you scolded me? Ever since she was young, her father had always treated her the best. No matter how mischievous she was, even when she got into fights in school, her father would always stand by her side. He had never scolded her like this before. When the teachers in the office saw this scene, they were also confused. Why was Principal Lin standing on his daughter's side just now and trying his best to protect her? Yun Jian had only said one sentence, and Principal Lin had turned around and scolded his own daughter? Dad, I'm your daughter. Why are you helping that *tch Yun Jian to scold me? You've never treated me like this. Lin Mengyu felt wronged. She pointed at Yun Jian and said angrily to Principal Lin. Before she could finish, she was interrupted. Slap. A loud slap was heard. Principal Lin slapped his daughter's face. Not long after, Lin Mengyu's face began to burn. A red palm print appeared on her cheek. Principal Lin endured the pain of slapping his own daughter and continued to roar at Lin Mengyu angrily. Even his fat body trembled twice. I told you to shut up, did you hear me? To be honest, Principal Lin was still afraid that Yun Jian would tell others about him keeping a mistress. If that really happened, not only would he be humiliated and embarrassed, he might not even be able to keep his current position as principal. The price was definitely not small. Therefore, he would never allow such a thing to happen. Yun Jian crossed her arms and watched the series of events unfold in front of her. She had long expected that something like this would happen, so when she was surfing the internet at the internet cafe last time, she specially looked for the Global Secret Service intelligence station to search for Principal Lin's personal information. In the end, she found such an interesting thing. Ah! Yun Jian, it's all your fault, it's all your fault. I'll kill you. I'll kill you. Lin Mengyu had never been humiliated like this before. Her father actually slapped her. Ever since she was young, no one had ever treated her like this. And all of this was because of Yun Jian. Not long ago, Yuan Yingjun broke up with her because of Yun Jian as well. Lin Mengyu was blinded by anger and hatred. She grabbed the black pen on the desk closest to her and rushed towards Yun Jian. The black pen was pointed downwards. Lin Mengyu held the pen and wanted to viciously stab Yun Jian. Everyone present sucked in a deep breath when they saw this. Lin Mengyu was going to stab Yun Jian with the pen. She was going to kill her. Ah! A few female teachers in the office had already turned their heads away, not daring to watch what was going to happen next. Only a few braver ones were still watching, but their hearts were at their highest point. Just as Lin Mengyu was about to viciously stab Yun Jian with the pen, Yun Jian raised her leg slightly and in the next second, she suddenly stretched out her leg. That leg viciously kicked Lin Mengyu's abdomen. The old injury reignited. Lin Mengyu screamed and flew a few meters away from the kick. Yun Jian retracted her leg and curled it into a cold arc. Chapter 58. All the teachers, including Principal Lin, who had never seen such a shocking scene, stared at Yun Jian in shock. Yun Jian was too ruthless. If not for Yun Jian's quick, accurate, and ruthless moves, who knew what would have happened? Mengyu, Mengyu. My daughter. Principal Lin loved his daughter the most. Seeing that Yun Jian had sent her flying with a kick, he did not dare to say anything. He could only shout and rush forward to help her up. Principal Lin was the most terrified at this moment. How did his daughter offend Yun Jian? Didn't they say that Yun Jian was just a child from a poor family? Not only did he know about her secrets, but his skills were even better than those of the special forces in the army. After helping Lin Mengyu up, Principal Lin fled the scene. He did not dare to stay here any longer. Firstly, his daughter was going to have a conflict with Yun Jian again. He could not guarantee what Yun Jian would do next. His weakness was still in the other party's hands. At this moment, Principal Lin only wanted to roar. Yun Jian was not like what he knew before. She was just an ordinary student. She was not human. She was a demon. Seeing Principal Lin run away with his daughter, none of the teachers present dared to say anything. However, in his heart, he could no longer use the word surprised or shocked to describe it. Yun Jian was clearly at a disadvantage in this matter. But why was it that Principal Lin ran away with his tail between his legs instead of Yun Jian being kicked out? Wasn't this too unbelievable? Principal Lin's intention to expel Yun Jian naturally came to an end. Obviously, Yun Jian had something on Principal Lin. Unless he did not want to be a principal anymore or wanted to lose his reputation, he would not expel Yun Jian. Yun Jian attracted a lot of attention when she returned to the classroom. Everyone knew that Yun Jian had offended the principal's daughter, Lin Mengyu. Yun Jian was most likely called to the office because of this. How could Yun Jian continue to stay in school now that the principal was here personally? Just as Yun Jian stepped into the classroom, Lu Fian ran over to ask worriedly, "Xiao Jian, how is it? Are you okay?" Seeing Lu Fian's worried gaze on her, Yun Jian wanted to comfort her, but a shrill female voice snatched the right to speak. The Chinese class representative, Wang Ru, spoke up before Yun Jian could. "When I went to the office to get my copybook just now, I saw our school's principal in the office. Class 1's Lin Mengyu was there too. Their expressions were somber too. How can they be okay?" As she spoke, Wang Ru pretended to be concerned about Yun Jian and asked, "Oh my god, Yun Jian, you weren't expelled, were you? Class 1's Lin Mengyu is our principal's daughter. I heard that when she was in year 1, a girl accidentally spilled water on her and got expelled not long after." Her words caused quite a few students in the class to brag about it. A girl who accidentally spilled water on Lin Mengyu would be expelled from school. Yun Jian from their class had beaten Lin Mengyu up and sent her to the hospital. Did that not make things worse? Chapter 59. Wang Ru was asking for a snub. Her original intention was to use Yun Jian's incident to boost her reputation in class, but Yun Jian ignored her completely, so she kept quiet. After the incident came to an end, Yun Jian lived a peaceful life for a while. Qin Yiru's hand had fully recovered and she insisted on going back to work in the textile factory. Yun Jian thought about it for a long time but did not take out the 10,000 yuan she withdrew from Longmen City the last time. It was definitely inappropriate for her to take out the money so hastily. She had no choice but to let Qin Yiru go back to work in the textile factory first. It was another sunny weekend. Yun Jian took the bus to Longmen City's city center again. She did not plan to surf the net at the internet cafe this time but went straight to the computer mall to buy a computer. Yun Jian realized that it was inconvenient for her to come to Longmen City time and time again to surf the net, so she planned to buy a computer at home. Of course, she could not let Qin Yiru find out if she kept the computer at home. Laptops were already on the market in 1998. They could be bought in big cities like Longmen City. Yun Jian planned to buy a laptop because it was convenient to carry around. The biggest market in Longmen City was called Lianmei Shopping Center. It was the biggest shopping mall in the city. One could come here to buy anything. If one could not buy what one wanted here, it would be impossible to buy it in the entire Longmen City. The computer mall was located on the 4th floor of Lianmei Shopping Center. Yun Jian walked to the 4th floor and saw a plaque above the door that read, Lianmei Computer Mall. She walked in with a small smile. There were very few people who bought computers in this era because it cost a lot to install one. Usually, only those who were worth millions would come here to buy a computer. Therefore, there was only a female attendant in the computer mall. The waitress was swatting flies with her hand out of boredom. When she heard someone coming in, she naturally knew that there was a customer. She quickly put on her signature smile, and before she looked up to see who it was, she said in her coquettish voice, "Welcome." Just as he said this, he paused. The attendant thought that the customer would be a successful man in his 40s or 50s or a middle-aged man dressed like a big boss. Who knew that it would be a teenage girl who came in? When the waitress saw Yun Jian coming in from the door, the anger that she had just puffed up deflated at once. How could a teenage girl have the money to buy a computer? She probably had not even touched a computer before. The computers here cost more than 10,000 yuan. Looking at Yun Jian's current attire, the attendant immediately thought that she was probably a pauper who came in for a look but could not afford a computer. Thus, the buttocks that had just been raised immediately sat back down. Yun Jian was naturally aware of the waitress's attitude but she paid it no mind and went straight to the display counter for the laptops. Seeing that Yun Jian as to touch her, the attendant's hands, she could not sit still. Hey! Don't touch it. The attendant ran over, wanting to slap Yun Jian's hand away as she said, "This laptop is the latest model. It costs more than 30,000 yuan. Don't touch it. Can you afford to pay for it if it's damaged? What she meant was, you're a little girl. Why did you come here to touch a computer instead of staying in school? Chapter 60. Yun Jian was one step ahead of the waitress and withdrew her hand. The waitress wanted to slap Yun Jian's hand, but she missed. However, the waitress didn't think much of it. She said to Yun Jian in an educating tone, "Little kid, this is the 4th floor. We're not selling your favorite toys. We're selling computers. Do you know what a computer is? Something that can be used to surf the internet. Sigh, forget it. You won't understand even if I say more. Hurry up and leave." The waitress had always been proud of her profession of selling computers in the computer city. She even felt that she could sell computers here because the customers she interacted with were all big bosses. She was also someone who walked in front of others. At least in this era, there were some people who didn't even know what a computer was. They had never seen one before. The waitress naturally categorized Yun Jian as one of these people. Therefore, when she spoke, she was full of pride. She thought to herself, I'm nothing in front of big bosses, but I can at least find some sense of superiority in front of this little girl, right? She really didn't know where this waitress' sense of superiority came from. Yun Jian just wanted to laugh. This is the latest laptop model, ThinkPad. 600, it's 13.3 inches in size. It supports a maximum amount of memory, a 5 GB hard drive, and weighs 2.5 kilograms. Miss Waitress, am I right? Yun Jian ignored the waitress's nagging and recited the laptop's attributes in one breath. Since the waitress said that she didn't know what a computer was, then she would explain the laptop's attributes to her. She originally thought that Yun Jian was a little girl who didn't even know what a computer was. Who knew that Yun Jian could actually recite the laptop's attributes? The waitress widened her eyes. Why did she feel that her actions just now were like showing off her slight skill in front of an expert in front of Yun Jian? Moreover, the waitress didn't understand what Yun Jian said just now. She only knew how to sell computers. How would she know the attributes of a laptop? That's right. However, in order to save her face, the waitress still pretended to understand and agreed. I'll take it. Put this laptop in. Yun Jian tapped the glass counter twice with her middle finger and index finger. Her other hand reached into her trouser pocket and took out the bank card with nearly 100 million US dollars. She threw it on the counter. The money was originally deposited in Qin Yi's bank card, but Yun Jian later made a bank card for herself and transferred all the money to her own bank card. Therefore, this bank card belonged to Yun Jian. This. The waitress was dumbfounded once again. She originally thought that Yun Jian was a poor child who came here to wander around aimlessly. But who knew that she was really here to buy a computer? Moreover, it was a bank card? He just didn't know if there was really money in this bank card. The market price of this laptop is 31,999. The money in this card. Is it enough? Before the waitress could ask the last 3 words, Yun Jian interrupted her again. The card doesn't have a password. After you swipe it, please return it to me immediately. Yun Jian didn't want to argue with the waitress and said calmly. Being forced to this point, the waitress had no choice but to take the card and run to the counter. She wanted to see if this little girl could really take out 30,000 renminbi from her card. 30,000 renminbi wasn't a small amount. She worked here for a month and only earned 2,000 to 3,000 RMB a month. This monthly income was considered quite high in this era. The waitress came to the counter and wasn't in a hurry to swipe the 30,000 renminbi from the card. Perhaps it was out of curiosity, but she really wanted to see how much money this arrogant little girl had in her card. Because the card didn't have a password, the waitress first checked the remaining balance of the card. However, when the remaining balance of the card popped up, the waitress was so shocked that she almost dropped the card on the floor. The number that popped up from the card machine was 999700000. There were also two dazzling words behind it, USD. Chapter 61. There was close to $100 million in the card, which was equivalent to 600 million Chinese yuan. The waitress gripped the card with trembling hands, almost suffocating. God knew how shocked she was when she saw the number. What did it mean for a teenage girl to be able to fork out such a huge sum of money? This girl was definitely not an ordinary person. In Longmen City, anyone who had a net worth of more than $1 million was considered a tycoon. Usually, the waitresses would have to lower their heads and bow when they saw this kind of rich man with a net worth of millions. As for the girl, the waitress dared not let her imagination run wild. She quickly swiped the money for the laptop from the card and ran to where Yunjian was. When she passed the card back to Yunjian, the waitress's hands were trembling. Your card, please keep it safe. The waitress' attitude took a complete turn as she stammered and ran to wrap up the laptop Yunjian had bought. She almost lost such a huge deal because of her contempt. Fortunately, Yunjian did not seem to want to hold it against her. Yunjian was not angry at the waitress' change in attitude. Taking the bag with the laptop the waitress passed to her, Yunjian turned to leave. Have a safe journey. The waitress bowed deeply but did not receive any response. After exiting the computer mall, Yunjian went to get an internet connection. It was not enough to buy a laptop without internet connection. It was already noon when she walked out of Lianmei shopping center. There was no one at home. Qin Yiru had gone to work and would only be home at night. Yunjian had her lunch at a noodle restaurant in Longmen City before taking the bus back to Xinjiang town. As soon as she got home, she installed the broadband cable and went back to her room. She turned on her laptop and quickly tapped on it with her fingers, opening a brand new web page. This web page was used by her in her past life to contact her subordinates. She did not log in at the internet cafe that day because it was difficult for her to surf the net in public. Yunjian logged into the web page using her previous life's codename, Slaying God. A small window popped up. It was a secret message from her subordinate, the Demoness. Shah, you're the one who stole the $100 million from the company, aren't you? You're short of money? The Demoness' secret letter was filled with disbelief. Slaying God was not short of money, but unfortunately, she was now Yunjian. Yunjian smiled and typed quickly on the keyboard, yes, I do. Click and send. As soon as he sent the message, the Demoness immediately replied. Give me your bank account number, and I'll transfer a few billion to you. The witch's reply was relaxed and straightforward. A few billion was nothing in her eyes. No need. We don't need it now, Yunjian replied. To be honest, the last thing she lacked in her previous life was money. A few $100 million was nothing to her. It was only after her rebirth that she realized that a few $100 million was an astronomical figure in the eyes of ordinary people. Most people would not even have such a huge sum of money in their lifetime. Chapter 62. The weekend passed quickly and it was back to school in the blink of an eye. It would be the basketball competition in a week's time, so Li Xiangyi and the rest's basketball training was getting more frequent. Yunjian did not join their basketball training. It was an exception for her. After all, Yunjian's skills were there for all to see. No one would say no to her. Xiao Jian, our class's evening self-study session today is cancelled. I heard that there's going to be a class activity tonight. They're going to let us perform on stage or something. Our homeroom teacher has agreed to it too, saying that it's for us to relax and adjust our learning state. Just as the art class in the afternoon ended, Lu Fian went to Yunjian's ear in exhilaration. As the years went on, the first major test of their lives was coming to the third year of junior high, the middle school entrance examination. Under such a serious situation, it was difficult for the students to adjust their mentality to study properly. Hence, the class committee held a meeting and requested special privileges from their homeroom teacher to organize an activity during the evening self-study session to liven up the atmosphere and liven up the students. Hearing that the evening self-study session was no longer required and they could even do activities, the students in the class were overjoyed, including Lu Fian. As a matter of fact, Lu Fian went to Yun Jian to tell her about it right after class. Oh. Yun Jian was not interested in such things as she sprawled on her desk and took a short nap. Aya, Xiao Jian, don't be so nonchalant. It's rare to have an activity like this. When it's over, we won't have time to play anymore. We'll have to focus on our studies next, so you have to look happy too. Lu Fian pouted. Then, as if remembering something, Lu Fian told Yun Jian, right, Xiao Jian, we can sign up for the evening self-study session. I signed up and want to sing a song to liven up the atmosphere. Xiao Jian, do you want to come with me? It was only then that Yun Jian looked up. She pressed her lips together and glanced at Lu Fian with a smile. I'll pass. Oh, okay then. Lu Fian could only give up. The evening self-study session came as scheduled. The purpose of the activity was to relax everyone's tense emotions. As long as they signed up with the class committee, any student in the class could go up on stage and perform a small performance. For example, singing a song or dancing. The activity this time was actually thought up by the Chinese class representative, Wang Ruru. Hence, she was the one who hosted the entire activity this time. It was obvious that Wang Ruru liked to be in the limelight, or else she would not have gossiped about Yun Jian's eyes. During the event, the atmosphere at the scene was indeed very lively. Lu Fian also went up to the podium and sang a song. Her sweet voice welcomed the applause of the whole class. Yun Jian clapped for Lv Fian as well. She sat in her seat and watched the show. After Lu Fian got off the stage, Wang Ruru held the name list of the students who came up on stage to perform. Suddenly, she glanced at Yun Jian maliciously and snorted in her heart. Next is Yun Jian. She's going to perform a dance for us. Let's give her a round of applause. Wang Ruru glanced at Yun Jian maliciously and said. Obviously, Wang Ruru was holding a grudge. She remembered that Yun Jian did not give her face last time and ignored her, so she added Yun Jian's name to the list of people who were going to perform. Wang Ruru was well aware of Yun Jian's background. She came from the countryside, so how could she have learned how to dance? She had already written her name on the list. Yun Jian had to dance even if she didn't want to. Wang Ruru suddenly pulled out a smile, which was very strange. She was waiting to see Yun Jian make a fool of herself. Who asked her to not give her face that day? Chapter 63. The event this time was just a small class activity, so it was not as formal as a joint performance on New Year's Day. The students were only going up to sing a song or dance at the last minute to liven things up. Therefore, Wang Ruru had put Yun Jian's name on the list of students who were going up to perform. Even if Yun Jian said that she did not sign up now, the class would only think that she was being a wet blanket. Wang Ruru had considered this and was well aware that Yun Jian was from the countryside. Asking her to dance? How was that possible? She probably had never even seen a real dance before. It was obvious that she was trying to embarrass Yun Jian. As expected, the entire class clapped after Wang Ruru's speech. The applause was unusually loud. The class loved to watch the drama. Most of them, as long as they were not stupid, could tell that Wang Ruru was purposely making things difficult for Yun Jian. In spite of it, who would not be happy to watch a show? Hence, they were clamoring for Yun Jian to perform the dance. Wang Ruru, what's the meaning of this? Xiao Jian didn't sign up. Why do you want her to perform? You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Among the spectating students, only Lu Fian stood up. Her expression was dark as she glared hatefully at Wang Ruru after she stood up, speaking up for Yun Jian. She had been with Xiao Jian all this time. How did she not know that Xiao Jian had signed up for the program? It was a dance too. Lu Fian had planned to invite Yun Jian to sing a song with her, but Yun Jian did not agree back then. It was obvious that Wang Ru was using her power to avenge a personal grudge by adding Yun Jian to the list and asking Yun Jian to perform a dance. Most of them knew how to sing, or even sing the national anthem. However, most of them didn't know how to dance. Was it not obvious that they were bullying Xiao Jian? Lu Fian was the first to stand up. What do you mean? Didn't I call out the names according to the order on the registration form? Did I just randomly add Yun Jian's name? I'm not as free as you guys. Wang Ru refused to admit that her scheme had succeeded. After she said that, Wang Ru suddenly made an exaggerated expression of shock like she had discovered a new world. She looked at Yun Jian and raised her voice, asking the obvious. Oh God, Yun Jian, don't you know how to dance? Why did you sign up for a dance then? Since you've signed up, you have to perform. Why don't you do a few moves? We're just here to liven things up, it's fine. Those who didn't know the inside story might think that Wang Ru was easy to negotiate with and was very concerned about her classmates. Yun Jian was only amused. You really want me to perform a dance? This time, Yun Jian did not let Lu Fian stand up for her. She spoke first, standing up from her seat lazily and looking at Wang Ru, her tone relaxed. That's right. How could it be fake? But Yun Jian, it's fine if you don't know how to dance. Come up and do a few moves to liven things up. We're all in our class anyway, there's nothing to be shy about. Wang Ru spoke as gently as she could, but she was over the moon. She could not wait to see Yun Jian embarrass herself later. Yeah, what's the big deal? Go up and do a dance. Yeah. Many students in the class started to echo Wang Ru's words. Wang Ru wore a smile that she thought she had won. Humph, fight with her? No way. Chapter 64. Xiao Jian. Lu Fian clenched her fists when she heard Yun Jian say, I'll dance, and called out softly, worried about Yun Jian. It was a feeling of helplessness. She knew that it was Wang Ru who wanted to harm her friend, but there was nothing she could do. I'm fine. Yun Jian smiled at Lu Fian. She knew that Lu Fian cared for her from the bottom of her heart. Living in the current world, one didn't need to form a group of friends. As long as there was one who was sincere and truly cared about him, it would be enough for him to have one such friend and confidant. Whenever Lu Fian heard Yun Jian say, I'm fine, whenever something happened, she felt like she could calm down. She could not help but believe in Xiao Jian and believe that she could do it. Yun Jian, come up quickly if you're going to dance. The whole class is waiting for you. Wang Ru said, adding fuel to the fire, but she was already raring to go. She could not wait to see Yun Jian make a fool of herself and spread the news tonight so that the whole school would know that Yun Jian was only pretty. What was the use of having a pretty face? She was still a pauper from the countryside. I'm not dancing here, Yun Jian said slowly with narrowed eyes. Where are you going to dance if you're not dancing here? Wang Ru was so anxious that she almost blurted out the question. Yun Jian did not give Wang Ru a chance to speak. She looked out of the classroom and continued, I want to dance outside the classroom. Once she said that, everyone in the class was stunned. Wang Ru, in particular, had an exaggerated expression. She had planned to embarrass Yun Jian in class, but the latter had suggested that she wanted to dance outside the classroom. There were lights outside the classroom at night. Did this mean that the classes next door who were having self-study at night would be able to see Yun Jian make a fool of herself? Was this not a slap to her own face? Wang Ru's smile became even weirder. She kept speaking, afraid that Yun Jian would go back on her words and dance in the classroom again. She hurriedly said, Okay. You can dance outside. We'll stand in the corridor and watch you dance. After that, all the students in the class stood in the corridor of the classroom. The whole class looked at Yun Jian excitedly as she walked out. They wanted to see what she was up to. Did she want the whole school to know that she couldn't dance? The surrounding classes of Class 6 were all Grade 3 students. At this time, the students of Class 6 stood out, and the surrounding classes all noticed the commotion. Everyone, including Yuan Ingjun from Class 1 and Li Xiangyi from the basketball team, could clearly see Yun Jian walking from her classroom to the flat ground. What was going on? What was Yun Jian trying to do? Yun Jian walked out of the classroom with her hands in her pockets. She walked lazily, but it gave people a new feeling. In the middle of Class 6's classroom was a flat ground. There were many fitness equipment on the ground. Yun Jian walked over and suddenly stood next to a long pole. This pole was a few meters tall. Hey, what is she trying to do? Is she going to dance with the pole? Ha! Ha! A boy in the class couldn't help but complain. On the other side, Yun Jian extended her hand and touched the pole softly between her fingers. Suddenly, the atmosphere changed. Yun Jian, who was originally in a lazy state, suddenly became charming. She walked over and stuck her body to the pole. Her eyes drifted in the direction of the crowd. She was so enchanting. However, this was only the beginning of Yun Jian's dance. Just as everyone was puzzled, Yun Jian suddenly kicked her legs and hung on the pole. What was strange was that the moment she hung on the pole, she was relaxed. Pole dancing. Some students immediately realized what Yun Jian was going to do next. Chapter 65. Huh, Yun Jian, what are you doing hanging on the pole? Wang Ruru was stupid. She still hadn't realized what Yun Jian was doing. She couldn't help but mock her again. At this moment, a scene that made Wang Ruru's jaw drop appeared. Yun Jian held the pole with one hand. Her legs were wrapped around the pole, and she started to spin around the pole. Her every move was enchanting and charming, but it matched the rhythm of the dance and the charm of classical music. There was no accompaniment, but Yun Jian's pole dance was mesmerizing. She sucked her legs, bent her waist, and crossed her arms. She did every move perfectly. At this moment, Wang Ruru could only stare with her eyes wide open. She couldn't say a word. She originally wanted to embarrass Yun Jian, but at this moment, even a fool could tell that Yun Jian's dance was something she had never seen before. She knew that it was impossible to achieve this effect without years of practice. Yun Jian actually knew how to pole dance? Yuan Ingjun from Class 1 was stunned. All this while, Yun Jian's beauty was well known to the public. In spite of it, she usually dressed in a plain, loose-fitting outfit that hid her figure completely. As for this pole dance, there was gentleness within the hardness. Especially when she was posing, her loose clothes clung to her body, revealing her proud curves and her slender and perfect figure. Everything was unreservedly displayed. Oh my God! So beautiful! A boy in the crowd couldn't help but shout. The atmosphere reached its peak at this moment. Until the end, when the dance ended, everyone was still stuck in their high spirits and couldn't extricate themselves. Yun Jian got off the ground easily. She smiled and looked at Wang Ruru. At this moment, Wang Ruru's feelings could no longer be described as shock. It was an expression worse than eating shit. Yun Jian retracted her gaze and walked slowly to the classroom. Pole dancing was a dance that she had to know as a secret agent in her past life. She could master the dance perfectly and bring out different charms. It was just that she did not expect to be able to dance here in front of everyone today. Yun Jian went to Wang Ruru and said with a half-smile, "I'm done." As she spoke, she went back to the classroom without waiting for the other party's agreement. "Hey, Xiao Jian." Before she entered the classroom, she was stopped by Yuan Ingjun, who ran out of Class 1. Yun Jian could tell that it was Yuan Ingjun's voice right away. "Xiao Jian, have you forgiven me? So the dance just now was done outside just for me to see?" Yuan Ingjun couldn't find the dignity to run away last time, but he was still unwilling to give up. He didn't think that Yun Jian really disliked him. He merely thought that Yun Jian was just acting out of spite. After all, it was impossible to find a boy as outstanding as him in Xinjiang town. If it wasn't for this reason, why would Yun Jian stand outside and do a pole dance where he could see? Yun Jian almost burst out laughing when she heard what Yuan Ingjun said. She had never met someone as shameless as Yuan Ingjun. How many times had she emphasized it, but Yuan Ingjun was still stubborn enough to come to her. It was no wonder then. When the original owner of her body was still around and Yuan Ingjun was still dating Lin Mengyu, he would pester her like a sticky candy. There was an 80% chance that Yuan Ingjun was being shameless. Chapter 66. After Yun Jian finished speaking, she went over to call Lu Fian and walked into the classroom, leaving behind a group of people who were dumbfounded. Not long after, two things would spread around the school. The first was the news that had spread like wildfire a while ago. The school hunk courted Yun Jian, but was rejected. This time, Yuan Ingjun courted Yun Jian again in public, but was rejected again. The school hunk courted Yun Jian twice and was rejected, so there would definitely be a lot of people sighing. The other thing was probably Yun Jian's pole dance. These two things both revolved around Yun Jian. At this moment, the main character of these two things had already returned to the classroom, lying on the table with her eyes closed, sleeping lazily. Yun Jian could feel that she was no longer as interested in everything around her as she was a few days ago when she first came here. The students who were standing at the door had all returned to the classroom to continue their activities for the night. Yuan Ingjun, on the other hand, had no choice but to return to the classroom since it was self-study time now. Before Yuan Ingjun left, he took a few more glances at Yun Jian. A strange conspiracy formed in Yuan Ingjun's heart. Alright, since this Yun Jian doesn't know what's good for her, then I'll. Wang Ruru wanted to frame Yun Jian but failed, and instead made a false accusation, which made Yun Jian stand out even more. She was very unhappy, but there was nothing she could do, so she could only thicken her skin and continue to host the activities. As time passed, it had already been more than a month since Yun Jian's rebirth, and the school was about to hold its monthly exam. Next week was the basketball competition, so Li Xiangyi and the others trained even harder for the competition. Sometimes, they even needed Yun Jian's help to guide them. Of course, Yun Jian didn't refuse. After a month of leisure, it wasn't a good idea to continue like this. She had yet to avenge her brother in her previous life. How could she continue to be so carefree? That night, Yun Jian logged into the website she used to contact her subordinates and took the initiative to contact the Kosha mercenaries. This time, she didn't contact Tiger Leopard, but the other leader of the Kosha mercenaries, codenamed Snake. Lizard. She left Snake. Lizard with a long list of addresses and a simple order. Come quickly. The address was naturally her current address, but she did not specify Xinjiang town. Instead, he wanted Snake. Lizard to wait for him at a hotel in Longmen City. Among the Kosha mercenaries, the one she thought the most highly of was Snake. Lizard. It could be said that Snake. Lizard was his right-hand man in his previous life. The organization that killed her brother was definitely not ordinary. She had to think about it carefully. The only person she trusted now was Snake. Lizard, so she had to come alone. Snake Lizard was just a code name. However, Snake Lizard herself was just like her code name. She was a scorpion woman. The Snake Lizard was best at using poison. Just as the message was sent, a reply came in 10 minutes later. I'll be there right away after I'm done with what I'm doing. In her previous life, Yun Jian was able to stand at the top of the secret agent leaderboard and even the top boss of the Kosha mercenaries in the world. She had plenty of capable subordinates around her. Of course, she had to have subordinates. The prerequisite was that she was strong. Xiao Jian, why is the light in your room still on? Aren't you going to sleep? It's almost 10. You still have class tomorrow. Qin Yiru's voice called from outside the door. Qin Yiru had always slept earlier than Yun Jian. She had gone to the toilet after waking up today and noticed that the light in Yun Jian's room was still on, so she came over to inform her. I'm going to sleep now, Yun Jian replied. She then closed the laptop and hid it before getting out of bed barefoot to turn off the light. She had bought the laptop behind Qin Yiru's back, so she could not let her know. Chapter 67. Early in the morning the next day, Yun Jian ran a few laps around Xinjiang town before going home. Just as she was about to go home to get her bag for school, she stepped through the door and saw Qin Yiru crying her eyes out. There were also a few people sitting beside her. She had seen eldest uncle Yunjing before. Beside Yunjing sat two old men. These two were not outsiders, but her nominal grandfather and grandmother. At this moment, no matter if it was Qin Yiru, Yunjing, grandfather Yunzhong, or grandmother Lu Lanhua, their expressions were all ugly. What divorce? Since you've already entered our Yun family, you're a member of our Yun family for the rest of your life. Isn't it good to live peacefully with Gang Heir? Gang Heir did make a small mistake now, but you have to put up with him. Isn't it just borrowing money from a loan shark? Also, which man nowadays doesn't cheat? You, don't try to kill yourself. Anyway, if you want to divorce our Gang Heir, there's no way. Grandmother Lu Lanhua pointed at Qin Yiru's nose. She was wearing a fancy dress, and her words were even more frivolous. Mom, this matter doesn't make sense. After all, it's younger brother who was in the wrong first. Yunjing couldn't stand it anymore, so he spoke up for Qin Yiru. His sister-in-law Qin Yiru was determined to divorce his brother this time. When the two elders heard about this matter, they immediately rushed over and scolded Qin Yiru without distinguishing between right and wrong. They only had one goal, to prevent Qin Yiru and Yun Gang from divorcing. Now that Yun Gang wasn't here, they really couldn't make a decision on this matter. Yunjing also saw today's matter. It was really his younger brother Yun Gang who was too inhumane, so he wanted to speak up for Qin Yiru. But after Yunjing said that, Lu Lanhua became even more agitated. She even scolded Yunjing along with it. Alright, boss, why are you siding with an outsider? Anyway, this old woman will definitely not agree to this matter. Over my dead body. Lu Lanhua tried her best to maintain her aura, but she still wanted to act shamelessly. How could she allow Qin Yiru to divorce her son Yun Gang? All these years, his son had been living an easy life. It was all because of Qin Yiru, this cow, who worked so hard to earn money to support him. If the two of them really divorced, then not only would he not get any benefits, he might even have to pay for an unfilial son. Therefore, no matter what, he had to let Qin Yiru continue to be a spendthrift. Grandpa Yunzhong didn't say a word. Instead, he took out his cigarette and started smoking. His expression was very serious. Under the coercion of Lu Lanhua, Qin Yiru could only cry. In the end, she didn't have the guts to go against the old man. Moreover, Yun Jian's grandmother, Lu Lanhua, was a well-known shrew and tomboy in town. She was good at quarreling and unreasonable. Qin Yiru could not win against Lu Lanhua at all. Then you can go to hell. Yun Jian, who was standing at the door, heard Lu Lanhua's threat of, if you don't agree to my request, I will go to hell. She walked in. Her tone was very calm, but it caused people to be in turmoil. Qin Yiru had been married to Yun Gang for so many years. She had suffered enough. Now, Yun Gang was involved in such a thing. He ran away from loan sharks and had an affair with a mistress. The mistress came to bully him. Just based on this point, she couldn't continue living like this. Moreover, Yun Gang didn't even know where he was hiding now. Yun Jian's sudden appearance stunned everyone present. Especially when she said, then you can go to hell, to Lu Lanhua. Everyone was stunned. Chapter 68. While they were still in a daze, Yun Jian was already standing in front of Qin Yiru. She could find her grandmother, Lu Lanhua, in the original owner's memory. She was rude, unreasonable, and unreasonable. Usually, Qin Yiru had to suffer from Lu Lanhua's anger. But Qin Yiru's personality was like that. She would not compete with the elderly, so she was always bullied. You want me to die? You don't even acknowledge your grandmother. You unfilial daughter. Where is the justice? Lu Lanhua was the first to react. She made a face that looked like she could barely catch her breath and pointed a finger at Yun Jian, barking fiercely. Lu Lanhua was an old woman who favored boys over girls. If it was Yun Yi who stood here and spoke to Lu Lanhua in such a tone, Lu Lanhua would never speak to Yun Yi in such a tone. It was a pity that Yun Jian was a girl, so Lu Lanhua found her an eyesore. There was a difference between a granddaughter and a grandson. Didn't you say it yourself? My mother wants to divorce Yun Gang. Unless you die, you won't agree? Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and her long eyelashes fluttered. When everyone heard this, their hearts skipped a beat. Lu Lanhua did say this just now, but everyone knew that grandmother Lu Lanhua had only said it out of anger to threaten Qin Yiru. How would she dare to really die? In spite of it, Yun Jian spoke frankly. Glaring coldly at her nominal grandmother, she enunciated, since you don't agree, you can go to hell. My mother will not continue living with Yun Gang. This marriage must be divorced. Yun Jian called Yun Gang by his name. It was obvious that she did not treat Yun Gang as her father. A father like this was not a father at all. Is it up to a little kid like you to interfere in whether your mother wants to divorce or not? Lu Lanhua was so angry that she took a few deep breaths. Finally, she gritted her teeth and shouted at Yun Jian and Qin Yiru, fine, divorce. Li. But the two of you must become monks with nothing. You're not allowed to take anything from this room. And little E must follow us. To Lu Lanhua, the house and her grandson, Yun Yi, were the most important things. In other words, Qin Yiru, the ATM, who worked so hard to make money for her family, could no longer stay. She would take Yun Jian with her. However, Yun Yi was her grandson. She had to stay. Yun Jian chuckled. It was a mocking smirk. If her memory served her right, it was Qin Yiru who had earned the money to build the second floor of their house. All these years, Qin Yiru's efforts for this family could not be described with just a few words. And Lu Lanhua actually wanted them to become nuns with nothing? Wasn't this blatant bullying? Just as Yun Jian was about to speak, Qin Yiru interrupted her. Mom. I'm calling you Mom for the last time because you're also a mother. You know how a mother feels. Qin Yiru gathered her courage and wiped away her tears. She continued, I can give up everything in this house, but I want to take little E with me. Impossible. Just as Qin Yiru finished speaking, Lu Lanhua shouted in agitation. Her grandson. Lu Lanhua had 2 sons in total, Yun Zheng and Yun Gang. Her eldest son, Yun Zheng, only had 1 daughter, Yun Xiaoya. Only her second son, Yun Gang, had a son. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.